there's no reason to use a cheap disposable razor or pay a ridiculously high price for gimmicks. Make the smarter choice and join Dollar Shave Club like my boy Tim did. Have you seen him lately? No more neck beard. It's beautiful. Get a close shave every time, and you can't beat the convenience or the price. If you haven't tried Dollar Shave Club yet, you're missing out. It's an amazing shave at an affordable price. There's no smarter choice on the market. And right now, they're giving away a 1-month trial of any of their razors for $1 with free shipping. And after that, it's just a few bucks a month. There's no long-term commitment, no hidden fees, and you cancel whenever you want. Get your dollar trial at dollarshaveclub.com/Greggy. That's dollarshaveclub.com/Greggy.
What's up, guys? Welcome to a very special episode of the Game Over Greggy Show.
Look who's here.
We got Andy Cortez, everybody.
What's up? What's going on, guys? How are we?
Hello.
San Francisco. It's great over here.
And Burnie Burns, creative director of Rooster Teeth. Is
Chief Creative Officer. How dare you demote me?
Okay.
Some chump creative
Yeah.
director
you
position.
fucked up.
Yeah. You were creative director,
Big fan
right?
of your previous work, by the way.
Oh,
Yeah.
thanks.
Oh, yeah.
Appreciate it. Yeah,
Awesome.
thanks.
So this is obviously a very different episode of the Game Over Greggy Show. Just to get you up to speed, Greg Miller is off getting married. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
I can now say that publicly. People can know about that. So that's congrats to them.
Yay.
Great.
I
Love.
had that bomb dropped on me right before this.
Yeah.
That's surprising.
Yeah. Shout out to Love. You know?
Shout out to Love.
That's what I've been saying for years.
Yeah, sure.
And then Nick Scarpino, a similar story, broke himself in the most classic Nick fashion, getting out of his car, pulled a muscle. He was literally, as my brother described it, swimming on the floor.
The metaphor runs deep
Yeah,
between
man.
marriage and crippling yourself with a back injury.
But it's like, you know it was bad that he knew Burnie was coming, and he still was like, I need to Uber. His car is still here. His car might be here for the next week and a half.
Yeah, we'll see.
Nick, you can just say you don't want to see me. You don't have to hurt yourself next time.
Yeah, so
I
Nick.
felt really worried about it. I was telling Tim on the way over here. One time my dad dislocated his knee, and I was just a child. And in many ways, I still am a child, so I felt like Nick was my dad in this situation.
Really?
And I felt so scared and like worried, and what do I do in this situation? I was like, Nick, what do I do? And there he was in the hallway on all fours, and he was just going, I'm good, man. Just give me a sec. Just give me a sec. And I kind of forgot he was there, and I started editing more, and then I turned around 2 minutes later, and he was still there.
Yeah.
And then he crawled backwards into his office.
on all fours. And so I had the other end of that where I'm sitting at my desk and I just see Nick ass first crawling back into the room. And I looked at it and I was like,
Oh, no.
Tim, just don't even talk to him. Don't even talk.
Yeah.
All the thoughts going through my head. I was like, give him his space.
Where's the camera?
Let him do what he needs to do, whatever. But then the
Yeah.
second thought I had was, should I text Kevin
Got it.
right now
Nailed it.
and tell him do not joke to Nick?
Yeah.
This is not the time. This is going to end poorly if you make any old jokes to Nick.
Yeah,
And
don't
I'm
make old
proud
man
of you,
jokes.
Kev. You read the room for the first time ever in your life.
Stop.
Really?
Self-awareness.
You pick it up on social cues.
Yeah.
Although I have to say, though, Eddie, if anybody would be happy that you have daddy issues that you're displacing on them, it would be Nick Scarpino.
Okay.
Yeah.
He would be happy about that.
Yeah,
Sounds
yeah.
good.
Daddy anything. He's just into it.
That's
but
his
anyways,
demo.
He wished he could have been here. So does Greg, but they're off celebrating other things. And Nick, I hope, is okay somewhere. I have no idea. But it was weird because I'm looking at him and I'm like,
What do
I think
do?
the best thing to do is not say anything. Just
Sure.
let him do him, you know? And he was just writhing in pain.
I
It
asked
was
if he wanted
horrible.
help up, and he said, I feel way less in pain in this position than I do sitting down or standing up.
Yeah. So, man.
When someone's really hurt, like when somebody gets hurt when you're shooting something too, like on set, and there's like an accident that happens, somebody gets hurt, everyone just gets super quiet and just let them walk it off, man. That's the best solution.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. Well, he tried to walk it off, but he kind of...
Crawled it off
Did he
backwards.
crawl to the Uber?
I mean, for anybody that's played Metal Gear Solid 4, there's the microwave scene.
Yeah. Oh,
It was kind of like that.
Holy shit.
You should have put like a
reverse.
cardboard box on it.
Yeah.
And just, you know.
Old man snake.
Stealth mode.
Kind of go through. So here's the deal. I've never done this whole Game Over Greggy show hosting spiel because Greg's been on the majority of the episodes of this show.
Gosh, yeah.
He's missed a couple, and whenever he missed it, Colin did it. But now that Colin's gone, it's going to have to be me.
Dude, I'm dying to hear you try it.
Let's go.
Fucked. If you didn't know,
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Game Over Greggy show. Each and every week, 4, sometimes 5, sometimes 3 best friends gather around this table, each bringing a topic of discussion for your amusement. If you want to get it early, you can go to patreon.com/kindoffunny to get a lot of perks and goodies. And
$1 gets, I don't know.
$1 gets exclusive stuff. And,
You made it further than I would have.
And then you can go to youtube.com/kindafunny where it's broken up topic by topic, day by day.
Until you get the final
version as an MP3 and YouTube
the
video for your amusement. I don't know how many times he says for your amusement, but he says it a couple times.
The nerd news you need to know about.
Nope, that's the other
Different show.
Yeah,
Okay.
until then, have a
I'll get it
conversational
next time.
day. No, that's something else.
I'm just gonna say I think you should replace the standard one with that. That was perfect.
Something good. I feel like I nailed it.
Nice
So,
when marketing messages are concise.
so Burnie, we have you, so we're like, we got to do a show. We got to just not miss this opportunity.
My voice is a little hoarse. I think it's okay to say this because I was recording lines for Kind of Funny Animated.
For the finale.
For the finale.
For the 2-part epic finale.
No
shit.
spoilers, but I'm in the finale.
Yes, and he has been the main villain of the
not dead
series
yet.
thus far.
I think villain's taking it a bit far. I think
That's
I'm
true.
misunderstood.
That's true. No,
Yeah.
I just
No,
love.
I think he's a villain.
Sometimes love is misunderstood. You know.
No, I totally get you,
Usually not
bro.
with like kids.
I listen. I just want to say I'm very upset that Greg was not here and he's getting married on the day I'm recording this character. I use that for motivation.
Yeah.
Just the
okay.
raw
Just-
internal jealousy.
Exactly.
of my character.
Sure thing.
No, I totally get it, and I love it. But yeah, so you're here. You just recorded that. You probably have more lines in the animated series than most of us do.
I figured that out when I got the last script. I was like, oh, I need to jump in the booth in Austin, where I'm from, and record these lines. And I got through like 4 pages. And I was like, oh, there's way more here
Yeah,
than this.
yeah. Nick writes it, and he just like whenever he gets access to like actual talented people, he's just like, I'm gonna just push Burnie as far as I think he'll go. So your character is just an actual. He's like, what if I made him like a pedophile clown? You think he'd be cool with that? I'm like, well, we could see.
Yeah.
And there you go. He is.
Pro tip, you can say whatever you want to as long as you never sign a release form.
So-
No, just kidding. Kevin will show up and I'll just be
did
like,
you go-
nah, I'm not happy with this. Take it
Did
off
you
the
go
air.
full method acting for this?
What, did I wear clown makeup or did I bang kids?
Either.
Which one? No, neither. Neither column A nor column B.
Well, that is an okay segue to our first topic of the day, which is vlogging.
That's a solid segue.
Yeah, very solid. So I want to talk about vlogging because you've started vlogging recently.
Relatively, yeah.
Yeah, and you've been doing this thing. I remember your first vlogs were around Kind of Funny Life 2 era, so about a year ago.
Yeah.
From now, but those are like early. Now they've evolved a little bit.
Yeah, so I did this event at E3, I guess last year at this point, so we're coming up on a year of it, where they were debuting Battlefield, and they had a 64-player tournament with influencers and celebrities. And I'm really glad that they
How
make
could
a
that go
distinction.
wrong?
Yeah, I'm glad they make the distinction though. Like, I like where that influencer term has ended up because web celebrity is like everyone's don't call me a celebrity. I can't.
Don't.
Yeah,
It's weird.
it's just no. We realize we're not celebrities, but people like the celebrities in this tournament are. So I ended up stationed right next to Wiz Khalifa, and Snoop Dogg was right across from me.
What a team.
That was,
What was their KD ratio?
dude, it was miserable. Wiz Khalifa got in the Zeppelin at one point, and he was super happy the entire time. He was like that dude who's in the door in Full Metal Jacket going, get some. But
He was flying high in 2 different ways.
let me tell you, when they walked in, before we even saw them, you could smell them coming. And
That's like Kevin.
they didn't give a shit. They were smoking the entire time. Nobody, of course, said anything to them. But I'm sitting in the middle of this like Bermuda Triangle of them passing who knows what. I've never
Snoop
partaken
Dogg.
in anything that's of the quality of what I'm sure Snoop Dogg uses. And yeah, by the end of that thing, I was like in a fog bank of smoke. And I was just like, afterwards, I was so like red-eyed. I went into the green room and just was eating red vines nonstop.
Got
And
the
then
munchies hardcore.
I tried to do a live stream with the Funhouse guys afterwards, and I just laid on the carpet. Just like I was laid flat out. But at this event, we had to make our commitment was to make a video for Rooster Teeth, and that's what we were participating in the tournament. And Gavin was there, and he had to make a video as well for Rooster Teeth. The guy next to me was a guy named Jesse Wellens, who you would know from the Prank versus Prank, Boyfriend versus Girlfriend channel. And that's how I knew him, is like this Prank versus Prank guy. And I was watching him like shooting all this stuff and talking to people, and the way he was like filming himself and talking, it's like, it's like, that seems like it's kind of fun. It seemed like really different than what I associate as being a vlog. And I went back and I watched some of his stuff and I was like, this is awesome. I mean, this is really incredible. And then through him, I discovered other vloggers, people like Casey Neistat, things like that. And it's just like, it just seemed like the medium as a whole was light years beyond what I had remembered it being.
Yeah. I mean, when it started back in the day, like vlogging is kind of what set YouTube apart from just being cat videos and stuff, right? It was the moment someone turned the camera on themselves and was just like, I'm just going to talk at you and you are the comments.
Yeah.
You know, like being able to talk and just talk about your day and kind of treat it like a diary. And that kind of blew up. And then there was the whole, what was the fake story of the girl, lonely girl?
Yeah, Lonely Girl.
like,
Like, make a narrative out of it.
yeah, and like it kind of made it, and that was like, oh shit, we can do a lot more with this as like a platform. And then it kind of
Who's a big Lonely Girl fan, by the way? Two very influential people are are huge Lonely Girl fans. John Green, you know John Green?
yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
John Green is one of the people, he was like holding on to the fact that it wasn't fake. Like he
Oh
was one
my
of the last
God, that's
holdouts.
awesome.
He's like the dude in the wrestling and the folding chairs
Yeah.
going, it's real to me. And then the other guy, Jeff Ramsey.
no,
Yeah, big Lonely Girl fan. He actually like
That's
watched her
awesome.
show on like the CW or whatever. They made some island show. Anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt, but
no, but I mean that's hilarious. But like that hit at that time, and that must have been what, like 2006, 2007. YouTube really like came out 2005, and then the vlog started in 2006, and it wasn't until like 2008 that people started making money off of YouTube, like with it being directly monetized by YouTube itself.
I know a guy who had millions of views before they started the partner program.
That's crazy.
The Ask a Ninja guys.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
they had millions and millions of views. He's the guy that showed me YouTube for the first time. A guy by the name of Kent Nichols.
Man.
Yeah.
That's because there's that whole generation of people that just kind of stopped after the partners started, you know?
It just, things like I think shifted more back then. Like I don't think PewDiePie is going to get knocked out of the #1 spot anytime soon.
Sure.
But like Fred and people like that, Smosh has been very consistent there as well.
Well, Smosh was, as far as I know, the first channel to get partnered.
Were
were
they?
the
That makes
first
sense.
people making money on,
really?
on YouTube.
I didn't know
yeah.
that.
Yeah, so they were doing that, and then there was like the rise of the Asian American filmmaker and like vlog comedy thing going on. So it was like Kev Jumba,
Yeah.
and Ryan Higa,
Ryan Higa, yep.
and like Wong Fu Productions and a lot of that. And they were doing that, and then Wong Fu did more like actual shorts and narrative stuff. But Kev Jumba was like that. YouTube was vlog content. It was just a dude in his dorm room making jokes to
Right.
a camera. You know?
Well, I think the cool thing about it too is like it's what YouTube gave rise to this format, but also I think it's not a format that traditional media would have made on their own. Like we had TV shows for years and years. There was never just the thing where it was one person talking to you about their lives every single day. And it's like it took YouTube to come around and make this genre come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, it's kind of weird that reality TV obviously is super, super successful. And that's just because people like seeing people and seeing people have their relationships like real world, right? Like totally makes sense why that thing would take off.
But
This
even
is
real
just
world,
the
they had
natural-
to
yeah.
put stuff in. Like,
Exactly.
yeah,
eventually.
prompts and
But what's interesting here is we're kind of seeing like with prank versus prank and stuff, that is that evolution on YouTube where it's no longer just talking to a camera. There's content being made. You know, it's like there was a story, a narrative being told, whether it's the prank that they're doing or the daily vlogs that they would do or other people would do about their lives turned into reality TV.
Yeah.
Where it's like, we have to do something to keep this interesting. We can't just talk about what we're doing every day, because if you go to Starbucks every day, that's boring.
Yeah. When we were at that event, and I said, this is really cool, and I got to talking with Jesse about it, and I said, this is really neat. I said, I think this is the kind of thing I might be interested in giving a shot after all these years. And I'm just like mentioning that. He said, this is literally the only piece of advice he gave. He just said, whatever you do, don't do a daily vlog. Like, he had almost like 1,000-yard stare when he said, he's like, don't do a daily vlog. Anybody who does a daily vlog, it just takes over their life and it ruins their life. And he was pretty clear about it. And I've heard a lot of vloggers say the same thing. If you try to do it daily, it'll consume you.
Yeah, I'm sure you start to feel like you're stuck to that, and that becomes your thing. And eventually, it's just like, oh fuck, I got to do this vlog again. You can't ever have any time for peace or relaxation.
Nobody's interesting every day.
Yeah,
all right.
that's true.
It can't possibly be the case. I mean, if you
Kevin's pretty interesting.
yeah, well, not everybody's Kevin.
And that's for damn sure. Shay Carl, who was one of the founders of Maker, he recently put out a documentary called Vlogumentary. It was part of the YouTube Red.
Yeah, that's
Situation.
the second most recent thing he's done.
Yeah, it is.
That's been put
We
out.
don't need to talk about the other stuff.
But it's part of the deal too. Is that when your life's on display, your life, the audience then does have the expectation that they're going to get access to everything, and then they're surprised when there's something in somebody's life that they don't have access to.
Yeah.
But it's also another one of those things. I always am fascinated by scandals. We're off on a tangent here, but I'm fascinated by scandals that get overshadowed by other scandals. Like the Shay Carl thing happened. There was, just for, you can look it up, I'm sure, but there was a cam girl who released some texts that they had, which I thought were, there's nothing physical. It didn't seem like going on, but apparently people were very upset.
The big
by
issue
that.
is when your entire channel is based off of vlog content that is family friendly, about families and
Right.
about the love that you have for your family. Like that's when that gets a little iffy, especially when you just released a documentary that goes into the dangers of putting yourself on the internet.
It unchecked a lot of boxes in one day.
Yeah.
But, when that thing goes on display and the people don't know and they thought they didn't have access to it, then it becomes a bigger deal. But right after that scandal hit, then the PewDiePie anti-Semitic stuff hit, and everyone completely forgot about it. It's like, and that happens all the time. To me, the best example of that is David Letterman had this crazy sex scandal where a guy wrote a script and was extorting him for like $2 million. And the FBI got involved, and David Letterman handed him a check in public, and then they arrested the guy and everything. And there was like this huge story. Then Tiger Woods' sex scandal happened, and nobody cared about the David Letterman thing after that.
Man.
Yeah, nobody even thinks about that with David Letterman now.
Yeah.
You know?
I feel like that's always the thing. Whenever there's like an awful news that companies have to break, they always release it like on a weekend, or when there's something like a big announcement's about to happen, and they know that the anticipation is gonna blow that story up. So let's sort of sneak in the shitty news.
Yeah.
So it can just kind of get tossed aside quickly.
Friday at 4:45.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
no one's checking their emails.
Yeah.
We'll be fine.
Another example is Fine Brothers. Fine Brothers at the exact same time when they had that meltdown last year, Sony was having the exact same kind of issue where they were trying to trademark Let's Play. Which
I remember
I
that.
was
Yeah.
very interested in
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
we have the Let's Play channel on YouTube, and they were not saying a word about it. And then at the same time, the Fine Brothers were doing kind of a trademark play with React. Everybody went nuts over the Fine Brothers, and Sony was just like skated along.
Well, the gamers were upset. The people that read Kotaku every day were like,
Yeah.
fuck you, Sony. You can't fucking do that. But then, like, the general public, like, the Fine Bros thing got to the general public, and that was, like, just out of hand.
Yeah, but do you think that the Fine Brothers are hit on a broader level than PlayStation does?
Well, I think it did in terms of news and in terms
like
of
trademark stuff. Yeah, I got
where
you.
it's just like
Yeah.
the Fine Bros, that felt like people felt like they were being betrayed as a user base, which is going to upset people a lot more than the big bad company that they love already, PlayStation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like a weird dynamic between going back to like the vlogging, where it's like when you know these people from YouTube, you feel a different type of connection and relationship with them.
Yeah, so my plan is to do a vlog a week, go for a year, and then that's the plan. It's just 1 year of it. And that's all I'm going to do. And now after a year, I go, I still like this. I'll do another year or something, but that's the plan for right now.
So what is the kind of motivation behind the content of the vlog? Because I saw you do one recently that was kind of how Rooster Teeth makes money.
Yeah, we wanted to be more transparent about that, because I think that a big part of the YouTube online video phenomenon is that it's also this like incredible entrepreneurial education that people are getting. Like they know how PewDiePie makes money. They know about like branded stuff and everything. When I was watching TV as a kid, I didn't know anything about that. And I think it's really important too for people to realize there's other models besides YouTube ad revenue. There's Patreon, there's everything that you guys do, live events, merchandise. So we wanted to be able to talk about that kind of stuff. And it's also, I think it's important, as you're asking the audience for support and watching the shows and everything, you kind of want to give them a sense of where that it's all leading, that it's heading somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you ever watch any vlog content at all, Andy?
Not really. Not at all. That part of YouTube was kind of in the past for me. Like, I was not really on YouTube a whole lot at that time. For me, it was just like AOL Instant Messenger, and that my internet was like downloading Blink-182 videos on Kazaa. Like, that's what, and also because I didn't have good enough internet connection back in the day. Like, I don't think I got high-speed internet until like 2007 or something like that. And it was kind of rough. 56K.
Yeah. Oh, God. The dark times.
Yeah.
But so there's guys like Casey Neistat now that have kind of like revolutionized what the vlog was, because everyone thinks of it as just, we're just talking to the camera.
In your bedroom.
And in your bedroom. And he's like, no, like we can turn this into in hotels and on the streets on a skateboard and all that. But it's like that obviously takes so much of his life up doing it daily and all of that. But for you, like when
he's quit a couple times.
Yeah, exactly. And he's back now, but it's not daily. And like, is it daily now?
I think he's doing like stuff for CNN. It's not really clear to me what's going on.
Well, his company got bought by CNN.
Yeah. His company Beam.
Beam. Yeah.
And it's one of those things where Phil DeFranco just recently launched a Patreon where he wants to have a next generation news network. I think that's actually what Casey Neistat's already got kind of going on, because a lot of what he does is now more events like around the election and marches and things like that. He tends to go out now and interview people in his style. But I mean, he's got that down. I mean, he's a guy I think that revolutionized it because he took something that was exceptionally low production value and added a bunch of high production value elements to it that weren't necessary, but that like took it to another level. That's what I identified with.
And because of that, he was able to kind of transcend YouTube. And instead of just being seen as a YouTuber, he's seen as what YouTube is capable of. Like, I feel like the mainstream media even would look at him, and like, he's the guy that is at every event, every like big event I've been to, like the Nintendo Switch launch event. There he was. You know, it's like he's always at those like. He gets invited to everything, whether it's video games or lifestyle or entertainment. Like he's there at the red carpets and covering it.
Well, a lot of times too, brands tend to be, older people that manage those brands, and they don't necessarily understand everything that we do. Even people in video games don't understand really Let's Play and streaming. They're catching up. But when they see somebody who's like a crossover talent who can communicate things, I think that's just very attractive to them. Like I say, it's like every time I put out a vlog, it's like I see in the comments, oh, Casey Neistat, or something like that. But it's actually go check out Jesse Wellens' vlogs. He makes films. He did a thing from Burning Man where it's a full film and everything like that. I'm super impressed by it.
Yeah, no, he's great. So with your vlogs, then, like you're in San Francisco now doing a vlog.
Yeah.
And that inspired you to do other vlogs.
Right, just doing whatever while I'm in town. I annoyed you guys by when we went out to lunch today, walking up and filming you as I walked up.
And
it's it's just something I really enjoy. It's a part of my job at Rooster Teeth, or one of the privileges I have, being able to go around and do stuff like that. We never really got a chance to cover it. We had RT Life, which is like our reality show, and now it's up to 3 days a week. But I just felt it was really cool to show like all the kind of cool stuff that we get to do because of all the support that everyone provides us. And I've gotten to meet some really cool people. And I came out here to California because my friend, she's launching a subscription box, like a loot crate kind of a thing, but it's all for like high-end luxury cannabis products. And she had this weird dinner that was thrown for her launch where it was out in the middle of Napa Valley.
Wait a minute, when was your launch? Was it 11 days ago as of the recording of this?
Probably so.
Was it on 420?
No, it wasn't on 420. She got married on 420 though.
I love that.
Of course.
Dedication to the craft.
Very dedicated. And it was a weird dinner, like a Northern California thing where it's like out in the middle of nowhere, Napa Valley, in those incredible views, this beautiful Northern California. And it was a dinner where there was pairings of, instead of wine with the different courses, it was all different types of cannabis. And it was interesting, and people didn't have to partake, but it was an interesting experience to say the least.
Yeah.
It's slam dunk for a chef.
Yeah.
By the end of it, everyone's like,
He's the best chef in the world.
This is the best food I've ever had. And you knew it was kind of like, it was leaning that direction, because the first round of appetizers that they bring around on the trays and everything were literally PBJs with the crust cut off.
I love that. They know what's up.
Bringing out like Kool-Aid's jammers and shit.
The dessert, by the time we got dessert, it was literally just like a bowl of ice cream with cookies jammed in it. It was nothing.
That's awesome. So you're at the point now where it's like there's just cool shit happening. You're like, I'm just gonna go vlog that.
Yeah, just do cool, fun stuff. And I know some people that are doing really cool stuff. And there's just really interesting things that are going on. An upcoming vlog is the Ringling brothers Circus is coming to an end in May.
What?
Yeah, right?
Yep.
It's going to be the last ever show of the Ringling brothers.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's just done. They eliminated Animal Acts a while ago for society.
How long ago was that?
I can't tell you.
Like, I don't think it was
How
that
long did they eliminate the acts, or how long did they announce it?
I went to a circus for the first time, Barnum and Bailey Circus, like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
In Austin.
Did they have elephants?
Maybe not. There
Yeah.
was like lions and shit.
Yeah, the elephants were the first to go.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh no.
They're the smarter ones.
That sounded bad the way I said it. They went to the retirement home first. Yeah, but so now I think because of that, of the elimination of the Animal Acts, it became less interesting, and so ticket sales started to wane. So now the Ringling Brothers Circus is going away.
And how long was it though? What was the? Wasn't it like 100 and something years?
Yeah, it's over 100 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I have a friend
Fucking
who
intense.
she's a YouTuber. She came to the U.S. from Russia with the circus, and that's how she came here. So
Oh,
I thought-
Olga?
Yeah, Olga.
Oh, cool.
So
Awesome.
yeah, we're gonna like go like to one of the last Ringling Brothers
Oh,
shows
wow.
and talk about that because it's super interesting.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. It's like a piece of American history just going away like
Yeah.
that quickly. I mean, not quickly, but it's still
Took
like
a while, but-
it seems like it was super abrupt, and I feel like it's something that we took for granted for all this time, and now it's gone. It's like, oh man, I never went to one.
Yeah. That was,
Fucked
it was
up.
quite the experience. It's like, it's what it's marketed as. Like, there's fucking animals just doing crazy shit and people
Now is
contorting and
this
stuff.
the one with the two
No, that's a Vegas show.
tigers guys?
Oh no, that's
What
I
the
want to say Sebastian.
Siegfried and
something.
Roy.
Siegfried and Roy. That's it.
Sebastian.
One
the
of them
crab.
died, right?
Nope. One of them got severely hurt by the tiger, and
like
he
broke
was
his
okay.
heart.
Yeah, don't spread fake
It,
news,
like,
Andy.
Oh shit!
Bit his neck and busted a major artery in his neck, and so he had a lot of problems as a result of that.
Damn.
But he's
Yeah.
fine.
But he's good.
Yeah.
I think there was a big push to not kill the tiger too,
Yeah,
which is what
yeah.
always happens when an animal attacks somebody. Did
Oh, man. Yeah, that shit's crazy.
I feel kind of gross.
you see the vlog that I did with Gavin?
I think you're saying with Siegfried.
No,
The other dude.
it's our Rooster Teeth's white tiger, Gavin Free. He's been in the UK, from the UK in the US now for 5 years, and in Texas specifically. And I've always said, look, you can't buy your own first pair of cowboy boots. Somebody else has to buy that for you.
Oh, my God.
So I finally took Gavin out and I bought him
That is fantastic.
cowboy boots.
Oh, I saw the Instagram video.
yeah, where he's got the
Fantastic.
Texas shirt on and everything.
my
Yeah,
God.
Fantastic.
That
he
is
actually
great.
makes a fairly decent cowboy.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
not that he's not good looking enough on his own.
It's
but-
like his waist is like this big, and the shirt was like that fucking wide.
Well, the only one they had on the rack was an extra large, and he normally wears like a European woman's small.
Yeah.
So it's it wasn't exactly a tailored fit.
Oh, man. That is ridiculous. So for the vlog, speaking of cool things, you should come to Kind of Funny Live 3 and vlog that. You can get your ticket now at kindoffunny.com/KFL3. I'm never going to give up a chance to scheme and try to get cool things to happen. So
There you go.
should do that.
Nailed that promotion,
Yeah,
by the way.
Yeah. That's what I do. But yeah, you should come do it. That'd be cool. I don't know if you're
Dude, I
free.
had so much fun at Kind of Funny Live too. I'm dying to go to Kind of Funny
Hell
Live 3.
yeah. June 3rd.
June 3rd.
I can't wait for you to see my entrance.
Yeah?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
His was pretty freaking dope.
My
It
entrance
was.
this year is about to be.
What are you doing?
I
Rafters?
Can't say. It's going to be cool though.
You guys got to slow down. You can't one up yourselves every year. That's not possible.
That's not how we do things though. We're the type of people that are like, we'll figure it out next year, which is kicking my ass this year, trying to figure it out. But I mean, hey man, you just gotta go for the gold.
Yeah.
What's the point if you're not gonna do it as cool as possible?
No, I
big or
totally
go
agree.
home.
You know?
Yeah.
Go big or go home.
big or
Go big or
Johnny
go home.
Tsunami.
Yeah, Johnny Tsunami, Disney
Yeah.
Channel original movie.
So ending out the vlog conversation.
Yeah.
What can people look forward to with your vlog in the future?
Oh, I mean, just going and doing cool. I like to have a mix of things where some of it's about Rooster Teeth. I did that business one that you talked about. I swore when we finished that, I go, this is fucking boring. No one's going to care about this. It immediately shot to the top of views of all of the vlogs I've done so far. So I never really quite know exactly what people are looking for. But I know there's a mixture of behind the scenes at Rooster Teeth, cool productions, introducing new people, which I think there's a limited appetite for because people do tend to go to YouTube to see faces that they're familiar with, but then also traveling and going places, which we get to do because of conventions and everything else that we do. And now RTX being in 3 different parts of the world, that's at least 3 weekends in the year that I'm going to be going to really cool places.
Yeah, it's fucking awesome. Before we move on from that topic, what do you do at Rooster Teeth now? What is your role? Is it just kind of podcast and big picture stuff and then the vlog?
On camera, the big things that I do are the vlog and podcasts, but how I spend most of my day is, and it's a great thing because how well Rooster Teeth has turned out and how big it's gotten, but I spend a lot of my time helping other people make content. Like just today, I've got 5 links I've got to watch for stuff we have coming out, and I got to give notes on it and everything else. We make so much content now that a lot of people say I can't watch everything. I literally watch everything 3 or 4 times because I watch different versions of it and everything else. Almost everything. I know, the gameplay stuff, those guys know what they're doing, and it's
so you're still that hands-on where you're screening the content. Wow.
Yeah, I'm watching kind of that. And then, at the same time, I'm working on high-level business stuff. There's business relationships and distribution stuff that they need our help with, trying to develop a new thing that we're doing for later this year that's totally outside the boundaries of what we've done before. And then, I'm working with Ellie back in Austin. She flew back from San Francisco, and I'm like, we're trying to stabilize footage for the vlog that we took from a helicopter. So,
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That
So
is
it's a
You're like, oh, I got a drone. That's pretty cool. Fuck it. Let's get a helicopter. Do it the old fashioned way.
I didn't think I was gonna be able to fly a drone near the Golden Gate Bridge because I think I've tried it before and there was like a no fly. These drones, they get their GPS coordinates and there will be no fly zones. Like you're not flying this thing here and it won't take off. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
And you can't disable the GPS. Not that I've tried. But it turns out I guess I could fly near the Golden Gate Bridge.
The footage looked fucking incredible, by the way.
Woke up at dawn. Dedicated vlogger.
Oh my God.
I was there at sunrise. You ever been out of Golden Gate at sunrise? You've grown up here your whole life.
No.
Like
fuck
only,
that.
only when you're hungover.
I mean, my thing is like growing up in San Francisco, you miss out on a lot of those experiences. It's a weird kind of thing because being from here, you take it all for granted, right?
I get it.
But there's certain things that I feel like me and a lot of my friends stand by that people would think are just like absolutely insane. Like Pier 39 is probably the most touristy place you can go in San Francisco.
Without it, probably one of the most touristy places in the world.
But I love it.
Yeah.
There's very few things more SF than that. And there's going to be the hipster people that are like, the mission, man, that's what SF is. And that is what SF is. But I think there's something about hanging out at Pier 39 with your friends, making fun of the tourists.
Eating
like,
food.
that is part of the experience.
And
there's a lot
watching
of
the
food.
sea lions.
The sea lions
Yeah.
are there. It's like there's this whole like culture there that it just feels so SF. Seeing the Golden Gate Bridge, seeing Alcatraz, it's like, that is the type of shit I'm like, yeah, I'm proud to be from here. It's cool that people want to come here to see this shit.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Never been to Alcatraz once in my life.
No kidding.
Yeah, because it's like that's not the type of thing you do when you're from here.
No.
You know?
It's like being a New Yorker and going to the Statue of Liberty every summer. It's just probably not something you do.
Yeah, and like the Golden Gate Bridge was. There's not like a walking path to get to it, but it would probably be like a 15-minute walk from my house growing up.
Yeah.
And so I would take the bus every day to go to school, and my bus route would literally just go right next to the Golden Gate Bridge. So it was just like that view of the bridge was just like a daily thing where I'm like, oh shit, yeah, that exists. Whenever people come and visit and they see it, they're like, holy shit, I've never seen something like this in real life. And I'm like, I guess, man.
Just a bridge.
God
Just
is
a
real.
bridge. God is real. All right. Next topic. Blockbuster.
Blockbuster.
So here's the thing. I want to talk about Blockbuster Video and whatever little mom and pop shops you got going around. Andy and I were doing a Gamescast exclusive for last month where we started talking about Ultimate Video, which is this mom and pop video rental house that existed back in the 90s. And you had a whole bunch back in wherever the fuck you were from, Texas.
Yeah. Like Vulcan Video.
That's in Austin. Well,
In
I'm
Austin?
not from Austin, but that's the first place I went to rent movies. Yeah, when I moved to Austin in
Yeah.
08. Yeah.
I love
Are they
video.
still around?
I don't know. Vulcan won some kind of Jimmy Kimmel commercial contest where Jimmy Kimmel's and Matthew McConaughey produced a commercial for Vulcan Video. It's when he came down for like South by last year.
Okay.
But I think they're on so tiny little was by the university, tiny little video shop, and then as everything else in that home video industry is kind of shrunk.
It's like the hipster film spot where like all the film buffs are there talking about pontificating about fucking movies that nobody gives a shit about. Like,
and they write the notes on like they have little white stickers. They put them on the DVD covers. And it's like Bill or whatever. Bill's like, this movie fell apart halfway through, can't stand it. But it does feature a young Natalie Portman or something like that. Yeah.
See, that's cool. I like that. There's still like that culture of people that are just like, I just want to keep like this sharing kind of going on and spreading it around. It's like real life internet.
Yeah.
In a
Yeah,
way.
sure.
you
internet
know?
commenters.
Yeah.
Making $5
fuck
an hour.
this movie or whatever. Just angry people on the internet. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just weird that like the home video thing was so important to culture for so long, and then it's just gone.
Yeah.
You know, and like that happened in the blink of an eye. Like within 3 years, the Hollywood Video, Blockbuster, like all those mainline ones just like fell off the face of the earth. And it was because of things like Netflix coming out, changing their model. Even Netflix going from being the rental service where they would send you shit in GameFly to streaming, like that just killed it entirely.
Yep. And I'm especially bummed by that because video store clerk was like my backup job. If, either everything fell apart and I couldn't get a job doing something else, or if I made enough money where I didn't give a shit, I would love to do that. Like just hang out in a freaking video store all day long and talk about movies.
And
That
you had
was
the
always
same
like
shithead kid call you over and over. Hey, is Godzilla on VHS in yet? That was me. I did that.
You're
I did
that guy? You wanted the Matthew Broderick?
I wanted the Matthew Broderick 1998 Godzilla movie, and it
Great
just kept
film.
fucking selling out. But that was the thing. They
film.
had those like weird tier plans. Like this was like before crowdfunding and Patreon or whatever. But it'd be like, all right, new releases cost $5, and you
Yeah.
only get them for 2 days. But then old movies,
that's right.
we'll practically give them. You get 3 for $5.
Sure, yeah.
And it's just like, but that really made you think when you were a little kid. You're just like, all right,
Like Rush Hour 2
do I
and
want
3?
to see Rush Hour 2?
Hell
or
yeah.
am I going to watch these things that have boobs on the cover? You know what I mean? The amount of times I was in a Blockbuster just walking around and like I'd see like an attractive girl on a box of a movie that I didn't know about, and I felt so wrong looking at it. And I'm like, but I couldn't. So I kept walking back.
Everybody
and forth
here
on the
knows I
aisle.
have a boner.
Everyone here is looking at
Yeah,
me,
they
and they
know.
know. But I'm looking at the back of this Idle Hands
Yeah.
box, and it's
Idle
doing
Hands.
things
Oh
to
my
me.
God.
Good choice.
Oh yeah.
Holy
Oh,
shit,
yeah.
Jessica Alba.
Jessica Alba.
I think there were
changed me.
Taught me things.
entire movie franchises that came into existence solely for the box art to be displayed at Blockbuster. Like those Jack Frost movies with
Oh
the
my
killer
God.
snowman.
Oh, yeah.
They had holographic covers. You remember? Where you,
Oh, they sure did.
But didn't Jack Frost start as a family movie, and it didn't turn into?
No.
I think those are two separate.
That's the
movies.
Michael Keaton family.
Yeah.
But am I wrong? Was there
And then
ever?
halfway through the movie, Michael Keaton's like, "Fuck you."
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, the horror franchise started with 2.
No.
Get outta here.
I think it branched off. Like,
I
This
was
franchise
always
got
under-
way
I was
cooler.
always under the understanding that it was just like going off the popularity of the
I
Michael
love stuff like that
Keaton
you learn as a kid that's
Yeah.
completely wrong, but you're like,
You're
I
like, no,
swear
that
this
has
is
to be
true.
Yeah.
true.
No, the first movie was, I don't think it was called Jack Frost. Like, obviously he was Jack. No, but he was a fucking snowman, though.
Jack Frost 2, Revenge of the Mutant Killer Snowman.
Yeah, you don't remember this? I totally do with the holographic thing.
No, but
No,
Jack.
I remember it too, but
No, but Jack Frost, the first one, isn't the one with Michael Keaton. It's a different movie.
Yeah, what's...
Oh, okay.
okay.
So there's this shit.
he's a snowman.
This is not Michael Keaton's
no,
movie.
no,
That
no.
is not Michael
no,
Keaton's
no,
movie
no,
right
it's
there.
not.
97.
I was wrong.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
also
like
with that
5 years
event, though.
after Batman.
Yeah.
I think he would have been, still.
Times have been tough on Keaton.
Oh man, but that was the thing though. Is like I would rent movies like that just because they looked cool.
Exactly right. An entire and then they would become enormously successful at home video, and they would make 2 or 3 more. And these huge franchises were built just because of cool box art.
Yeah.
God.
God, box art's rad. Yeah.
I remember renting a game called Running Wild, and it was a racing game where you're just animals that ran. And I was like, this looks cool. And
This is fucking
now,
up.
was it cool? No,
No.
not even a bit. But I rented it because it looked awesome. And the
Yeah.
animals look cool.
That's
See,
why I rented Mega Man Soccer. Because the box art, I'm like, oh shit, that's Mega Man playing soccer. I am so sold on this shit.
Mega Man Soccer?
Mega Man Soccer was a thing on the Super Nintendo.
Mutant League Football.
Yeah,
all
dude,
the-
there's so much shit.
I don't think I ever played Mega Man Soccer. There was a soccer game on the original Xbox I freaking loved. It was a Sega game. And it was
Soccer.
I'll look it up, but it's so great. It was backwards compatible on the 360. It was so fantastic. But so the thing about Blockbuster is not just movies. We would rent video games, and you could rent a video game console there.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
PlayStation 2.
Yeah, there was an ice storm in Austin. It's the reason I got back into console gaming. Because I was exclusively PC gaming. I grew up playing Commodore 64 because I'm old as fuck. And then I played PC games. I had an Atari when I was a kid. Never really got into Nintendo. I hated the Square controller, but I hated it. And then there was an ice storm in Austin. I was living with Matt. And we were iced in, and everything was canceled. So we just walked down to Blockbuster, and we rented a Nintendo 64, played Mario
Lit some
64.
candles and just fell in love.
Dude, it was magical.
Yeah,
magical.
That sounds like a great night.
Yeah,
It was awesome.
That was Burnie and Matt.
awesome. Yeah,
iced
dude.
in playing Mario
Listen,
64.
I'd go way deeper on this weekend if you want to. We got a case of Cokes, which when you're in college, it's like the Coke's in the bottles, not the cans.
Okay.
So it's serious. And we put it out on the porch because it was an ice storm, and everything kind of froze just a little bit. So you had the
man.
Coke, and it was like...
You could feel the flakes of ice.
Yeah, you get to
Yeah.
the ice level in Mario 64, like World 3, and
That's
you're just
right.
like, this feels so real. Console gaming, man.
Also, I was in college, so I could drink 12 Cokes in a weekend, and that was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I drank 18.
That does- yeah.
Matt only got 6 of them. So.
Oh my god. But yeah, man, Blockbuster just going to a Blockbuster is so much fun. Like I feel like me and Kevin still to this day do a similar thing where we'll go to Best Buy just to walk around. And like
Really?
just to like look at the different stuff. Like we're not gonna buy it, and if we're gonna go to Amazon. But like just looking at the Blu-rays, just seeing what's out there, looking at the game section, and it's like I know every game that's out. Like why am I doing this?
Yeah.
There's just something about holding the box for a second, picking it up and looking at it. It's just like
The smell of the store.
Something about it, man. Like people just fucking annoying you constantly of like, hey, do you
course.
need help? It's like, no, I'll ask you if I need help.
Oye, joven, ¿tienes el juego Nintendo? Like, oh shit, like I don't speak that well Spanish. Like, but they see Andres, like, can I get Andy on my name tag? Like,
yeah.
Hated that shit.
Best Buy's got a terrible model to me now where they let people sell things in the store. Like they'll have a booth that they're selling like some internet service. I don't know if they do that in California, but in Texas, you walk in, there's a guy going, hey, what's your home internet like? It's like, dude, I'm in a store already and you're going to sell me a different thing while I'm in the store. It's too much.
Clear wireless.
See, I'm on
don't
the
make it
other end of that
easier.
though,
Yeah.
because so we have to deal with Comcast here, which I'm sure you have some shitty internet in Austin. We have some fucking shitty internet.
Time Warner Cable.
Comcast, and it's fucking horrible.
Worst in the world.
But see,
No,
I would
I had
challenge that.
Uverse. I would give
AT&T
anything to
Uverse.
I would have given
I'm
anything to
sorry.
get Time Warner back after I left my old apartment and had to switch to Uverse, and it was going out 4 times a day. A fucking nightmare. Oh my god, I'm getting like heated right
Yeah.
now. Okay, keep going. Sorry.
But shout out to the dude though, because in Best Buy there'd be a little Comcast kiosk, and as annoying as that is, walking in when you're not looking for Comcast shit, being able to skip the phone situation
Yeah.
and just walk in and talk to someone.
Well, like an account service thing?
I mean, they're trying to sell you the service.
Yeah.
So if you're talking to him, you're just like, so here's the deal.
Yeah, they
I
make,
want a
like-
better deal.
They make like commission too.
Yeah.
So they want to sell you the service. So they'd always be like, all right, so we're going to pretend you've never had Comcast before because this deal happens right now. And if you sign up for 2 years, then
you get the NFL package.
Yeah, whatever.
All that shit. Yeah.
You ratting this guy out.
I
He-
mean,
he doesn't work there anymore.
I miss him.
I miss him too, man. I wish he was still there. 'Cause,
Luis
like,
from
Nick,
Store
you could
1193.
Yeah, exactly. You'd walk in and he would just be like he recognized me and Kevin after a while because we just kept sending people to him and like getting ourselves
Getting
deals.
those $100 kickbacks and
But
shit.
we'd just come back every year because once their like main deal's up, it's like, oh, but then you have to come back. And we'd be like, hey, dude, what can you do? And he'd always get us the better deal. And you didn't need to wait and listen to the fucking bullshit phone and they get disconnected and they say they're going to call you back, but they never call you back. Oh, shout out to the Luis. We'll just go
Dude,
with
we had
Luis.
such different experiences with this. It's crazy. Yeah. I was like, get the fuck away from me.
No, the worst thing about working at the Best Buy was hearing the DirecTV guy
God.
have to approach people and feeling awkward as hell because I hated hearing him get rejected.
Yeah.
It put me in such an awkward spot to the point where when I would hear him say, oh God, a few of them had like their own catchphrases. They had their own like way that they approach these things, right?
Yeah.
So they'd see a customer and one of the guys would be like, hey, what's up? Have you heard about the great deal DirecTV's having today? And I was just like, oh God, I'd have to walk away and like talk to myself so I could like, oh, I don't want to hear this guy get rejected. It was awful.
Which is like, it does feel a little door-to-door salesman when you're in a retail store.
Yeah,
You know? And you've already
100%.
made the choice of, look, I could get this on Amazon and get it tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I'm going to Best Buy because you're here and I'll get it today. And then you're like, they just make you deal with so much shit. Like they want your phone number, everything. You know, it's just like, just make it easy, guys. It's a retail store.
I
You know?
liked the worst. I liked the employees that weren't good at what they did and just kind of like sat back and just didn't really.
Well, then why'd you quit Rooster Teeth? That's our specialty.
You're right. You're right.
Sega Soccer Slam, by the way, was the game that I was talking about earlier. Sega Soccer Slam.
Sega Soccer Slam.
Great game, tons of personality, awesome.
You just did your Rooster Teeth podcast. Your fucking the new thing that you've been doing recently is like when Burnie forgets about what topic he was trying to talk about, you'll revisit it.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's such a great little thing.
Because it drives you crazy when you're like, oh man, I was in the store and this guy said this crazy thing. And like, Gus like, I was in the store. And it tells a story about fucking melted ice cream or something. And then you lose that thing. But we actually have a Twitter a tradition where we say, tell us what we stopped talking about. Like, what did we forget to talk about?
We could not do that on our show.
'Cause it's just
With
one-
Nick, that'd be impossible. Nick is the type of person that just is telling a story and then will think of something else and then forget about both of those things and just kind of just start. Then he'll just start making a joke and reference an 80s movie. Then he'll start talking about some other 80s movie.
good
And at the end of the
podcasting.
day, he's talking about 89 Batman. And it always comes back to 89 Batman.
Or Die Hard.
Or Die Hard.
All trains end at the same station.
Yeah, and then at some point he'll reference the fact that Joey Fatone was an 86-year-old man in NSYNC when the band started. And it's like, Why do we always say that? Like, how?
He's a 70-year-old man.
70. I don't even remember. Nick changes the number every time.
So
God bless
Blockbuster.
Nick. Blockbuster. Man, I just, going back to it, like I was talking about how I just walk around in the Best Buys. Like Kevin and I would like, in our younger days, go to a Blockbuster without even intentions of renting, just to like kind of walk around and like get educated. It was like walking into what we now think of as Wikipedia. You know, you kind of go down that rabbit hole of like, oh, I wonder what other movie, or IMDb, right? It's just like, it's fun to kind of do that whole spider web of figuring things out. But like, I'd love to just like, kind of like look and what's the history of drama movies? You know, just kind of walk through and read the back of boxes.
Yeah.
We
And
would walk to the Best Buy, the Blockbuster from our house, and that was like what, half a mile away, which for us at the time
seemed like nothing.
no, it seemed like so much.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to go? I was like, no, but all right.
Yeah.
It got me thinking about it though. Like it got me thinking about the way media is as a business. Because when I was a kid and I go to Blockbuster, and you'd see the wall of new releases with all the tapes facing out, and you could see clearly this movie is 4 shelf units and this movie's half of a shelf unit. And why does this movie have 100 copies in the store and that one only has 10? And even as a kid, I was thinking, well, if Blockbuster would put 100 copies of that movie and it would probably do a lot better. Like I didn't realize I was thinking about like what marketing is and everything else. But having done some retail stuff with Red vs. Blue DVDs, all that stuff is paid. Like posters on the wall and things like that, how many movies they place and everything, all of that is a very intense negotiation and sometimes a lot of money. Like a poster on a wall in a retail shop, if it goes in every store across the nation, can sometimes be just, I mean, it advertises what's in their store, but they still make you pay for it. Sometimes to the tune of like $80,000 to $100,000 to put up a poster in the store. You know, it is across, 2,000 stores depending on the chain, but it's something you don't think about. And then they take that out of your cost of whatever they sell it for and what they're going to pay you. It's all this like cycle.
I mean, I'm sure it paid off at the time. Obviously, it doesn't now because they don't exist. But it's the same idea of like when you go into like a record store and like or even GameStops now do it, where it's just like whatever's on the front of the aisle. Like that is prime real estate
killing
because
it, yeah.
people are seeing that and they're like, oh, what's this? Why does it have its own little kind of
This thing matters.
showcase?
Yeah. I think if you go to the thing that pisses me about GameStop, I hadn't been in one in forever until I needed a Nintendo Switch case. And I guess that's partly my fault because I hadn't been in one forever, but their wall has empty boxes of all of the shit that they sell. So, of course, I walk in and I'm expecting like, oh, here's this empty box. I'll take this item, which you probably have somewhere in the back. Like, no, we're sold out of everything.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, well, why do you have it?
Why is it there?
I just want to talk to somebody.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's interesting seeing GameStop go through what Blockbuster went through, which is now you go to a GameStop and it's more a hot topic than it is a game store.
Yeah.
Where it's just Funko Pops and clothing items and just bags and a bunch of that shit.
Keychains and
Keychains,
shit like
just a
that,
bunch of
yeah.
like just tchotchke shit, right? And then you look over at Blockbuster and I remember there was a turning point where their magazine section got a lot bigger than it used to be. And they had a lot more playable game demo kiosks and there was a lot more just gimmicky shit. And then there was like clothing racks and I'm like, okay, this is the beginning of the end. And then they opened up the Game Zone or whatever the hell. And it was just like half the Blockbuster ended up being a video game store.
Hollywood Video had that thing as well, where Hollywood opened up Game Crazy with a store within the store.
Yeah.
And where it was like, it didn't have the same color scheme.
I remember
it was,
Game Crazy.
It was green colored and it had, it had its own look. Yeah, it was caged off. It had like these fucking things.
Like actually caged off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At our Hollywood videos, they did that too.
And they would sometimes close before the regular store opened, which was infuriating.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I want to play Mortal Kombat, whatever. Like, let me go in there.
Yeah.
Wouldn't do it.
It's so crazy to think about because like even the game stores, those things like explode and there was a bazillion of them and then all of a sudden it stopped. Like I remember growing up, there was Funkoland, GameStop, and
EB
EB
Games,
and the
Babbage's.
EB. Well, we didn't have
Babbage's, oh my
Babbage's here.
God.
Okay.
But
Forgot about
EB was so big in San Francisco that the Embarcadero store, I've told the story before, was 3 stories in the Embarcadero Center. Each story was a different console.
Oh my
awesome.
God.
So it was Nintendo at the time,
Sega?
Sony, and then Sega and PC shared one. But it was just like
That's fucking crazy.
it was fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And then at the mall near us, Ceremony, there was a EB and a GameStop. Then eventually GameStop bought them. So there's just 2 GameStops across the street. There was 3 more GameStops, and I'm like, we don't need this many damn GameStops.
Nope. Yeah.
It's great. And then now they're gone.
Now
Where
they're
do you-
gone.
Now
Where do you
there's just
camp
like-
out for the midnight releases?
Yeah.
Man, what a great time that was. Like waiting outside of a Hollywood video for
Halo
the
2.
Halo 2 release was
Yeah.
just like, oh my god. Those are the
November
days,
9th.
man. I miss
It's
that
interesting
shit.
how, like, I think like geek culture lends itself to line culture as well, because the first movies that people would line up for well in advance were the Star Wars
Star
sequels.
Wars,
They would
yeah.
camp out for that kind of stuff. Jeff and Gus camped out like 4 days for episode 1.
1.
Oh man.
Oops. But yeah, I've lived through that retraction twice in a way, because the arcades were the same way.
Oh, yeah.
In the 80s, I mean, arcades were everywhere. And if you went into a convenience store, every gas station, every bar, everything had at least 2 or 3 video game cabinets in it. And that just kind of stopped. You know, we do a series of documentaries at RT. And one of the ones I've been pushing for a while is something that not a lot of people know about, which is there was a massive crash in the video game industry in 1982. Like after Pac-Man fever and all that, and the Atari was huge and everything. The reason why there was nothing between the Atari and the Nintendo was because in 1982,
E.T.
the E.T. and Pac-Man. Pac-Man on Atari doesn't get enough credit for how much damage it did. It fell apart so quickly that the video game industry declined by 95% in 1 year. It just dropped off a cliff, and it was over. It was like, oh, that was a cool trend. That video games thing, that was
Yeah.
okay. And then it just went away until Nintendo released the NES and just lit everything back on fire. Now it just seems like it would be impossible for the video game industry to go away.
Yeah. No, I mean, and even the arcade industry, it's crazy to see. Like, so yeah, it did the same thing there. And
Yep.
then it came back with the Street Fighters and the, the fighting game community and all that stuff in the 90s. And the arcades were huge. And then DDR, like, lit that shit on fire again. And the arcades were the hotness for like 2 years and then just tanked. And now there's just things like Dave and Buster's that are like
Right.
bringing it back in a different way.
All ticket stuff.
and
like
it's all
prizes.
ticket based and it's all app games, like phone games, just giant. It's
Yeah.
just a giant
Flappy
touchscreen of
Bird.
Flappy Bird, and it's like,
giant,
holy
yeah.
crap.
Well, I mean,
Crossy Road.
You can get it, better than any game I ever played on mobile device. It's perfect. It can't compete with that.
Yeah.
They had to do stuff like DDR and those jet ski games or whatever, because they were controllers you couldn't possibly have at home.
Well, that's the crazy thing about arcades is DDR happened, and around the same time there was Top Skater. So you're on the skateboard,
God.
Yeah.
and then there was that punching game where there's like the actual punching bag in front of you, and you would punch it, and it's like it's crazy because you can actually see. All right, cool. Then Guitar Hero came out, and DDR wasn't home, and the Wii happened with motion controls, and all that gimmicky shit went out the window because people got fucking sick of it. So it went from being the thing people would pay $1 for instead of 25 cents to being the thing that everyone was just like, I have enough bullshit in my closet, I don't want it anymore.
Yeah.
And that happened over the course
the
of like
music game
5
thing
years.
fell off so freaking fast.
And then they tried coming back.
Yeah. It was huge. It was every convention you went to, they had tournaments with, Guitar Hero and Rock Band, and then just overnight, gone.
I mean, Freddie Wong is a perfect example of somebody that rode that motherfucker to the sky.
Yeah.
Jumped off in a golden parachute right before it ended, and then just started a whole new career out of that shit.
Yeah. You
Like,
wouldn't think a guy would transition from being a world competitive Guitar Hero guitarist to visual effects superstar. It's just like, how do those two things cross
But see,
over?
the thing is, he did such a good job, even at the time of like he knew that like the Guitar Hero thing could only last for so long. But even then, he was making VFX fueled videos about Guitar Hero. Like there was that guy that did he did some video that was like playing Through the Fire and Flames on Expert, and that video went viral. And then one of Freddie's first videos was him being like, "Oh, you think that's fucking cool?" And he kind of played a character, like kind of like Andy plays his like 30-second review character. Freddie played this character of him being a fucking rock god on the plastic guitar, and he did a video of him on a bike playing while he was riding his bike, perfecting through the Fire and Flames. And then there's a bunch of VFX shit on top of it, and that shit went even more viral. And that kind of like launched his whole thing on
You just know
YouTube.
you're huge when South Park parodies you.
Yeah.
And that's what happened with Guitar Hero. And oh man, like those Guitar Hero was such a huge part of my growing up in high school, like just playing with friends and just trying to be good and be like, man, I'm way better at an actual guitar than this bullshit. But yeah, fucking arcade games at home were a thing that I never had the luxury of having. Like
Really?
DDR, fucking. The only thing I ever got close to was the Nintendo Olympics fucking.
Oh, the track and
Running-
field.
Oh,
game
you mean
came with
having an
Duck Hunt?
actual arcade cabinet at home?
No, like just anything gimmicky, like anything
Peripheral based stuff.
anything peripheral based. The track and field thing was like the closest thing that I ever experienced in a home, and it wasn't my home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I had anything like that either. I always remember growing up, I thought, man, if I could have an arcade cabinet in my house,
Yeah.
I'll be rich.
That'd
you
be
know?
so cool.
Yeah,
and
it'd be
now
so
it's
cool.
like it's just such a hipster thing that people just do.
And it's like, I mean, honestly, over time, I think video games might be the worst investment for collectibles. Do you agree with that?
I mean, I don't know.
Are we
'Cause
bleeding off on different topics here?
Yeah, you know what? Let's segment this over here where like retro was going to be one of our topics.
Yeah,
I feel
we'll talk
like
about retro stuff.
collectibles and all this kind of all fall into the same thing. But it's interesting where anything's useless as a collectible unless there's maintained interest in it over time, right?
Right, but I think that people, like even games that I loved growing up, they just don't hold up over time. And it's interesting to, like, what to you would be the ultimate video game collectible from you growing up, something you would play and you'd want to have it again?
See, I mean, my thing is, and again, going back to the Gamescast me and Andy did, I think that the greatest single video game as something that you could buy in a store is the Mario All-Stars Plus World collection on Super Nintendo. It collected Mario 1, 2, 3, World, and Lost Levels, which is the Japanese 2. Great collection of games, hold up today. They were the HD remakes of the NES ones. And that is a cartridge that at any point in my life, I'm like, that's a fucking classic.
Yeah. Well, I remember as a kid growing up,
Now, are we
my
talking about-
friends would have collections of comic books under their bed, and like, it'd be worth so much someday. Turned out to be true, but occasionally there's one in there that's worth a lot and a bunch that are worth nothing. And I think of like the World Championship Nintendo cartridge.
Yep.
There's some things like that in video games that are like an individual thing that are rare, but a collection of video games over time is an interesting thing, but not something that's like this crazy thing that's increased in value because you've had this collection. And maybe it will like 20 years from now, but I thought it would be there by now.
I mean, every once in a while you see like articles written up about like this guy has every Wii game ever made.
Right.
And it'll be like a crazy room with all of it. And then it'll sell for something ridiculous. But a lot of times people aren't even trying to sell them. They just want to have it.
Correct.
And it goes into one of those things like Pokemon cards, right? They were a fucking huge boom and these are going to be worth so much. And it's like they were worth a lot for a while, but then over time it went down. But there's a lot of them that are still worth a lot. If you go on eBay and try to get a first edition Charizard now, it's still going to go for a lot more money than a little piece of paper should go for.
Sure. Yeah, that kind of thing. But if you have a cartridge, like there's some stuff like Earthbound, which I think has increased in value quite a bit because it was very rare. But like if you had Super Mario Brothers from the NES, that's a seminal experience for so many people. If you had one new in the box, that wouldn't be worth like $1,500. You know, I don't
Maybe
think.
not 1,500, but I think that still, even that in box would be if we were to eBay. Like let's try looking now,
Let's
like
try-
new in
try to
box
see.
Mario, because I feel like even going back to like the PlayStation era, trying to buy like a Crash Bandicoot new in box, you're still gonna pay like $100 for that thing.
I don't even know if Super Mario Brothers new in box exists.
Because the thing with Mario is that game got so cheap that I remember a point at Funkoland where they were selling the Super Mario Bros. / Duck Hunt game for 9 cents. They were selling it for 9 cents, which back then I was like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Like I
give
could
it
buy
away.
so many of these and it's just like not even a thing.
So here's a guy trying to sell Super Mario Brothers 3, brand new Nintendo NES factory sealed, $299. He's trying to sell it. I have no idea if he's going to be able to.
I forgot that's how the boxes looked.
Yeah, just the square rectangle.
Yeah,
My thing
look
is
at
growing up, I grew up, I was born in 1989, which meant that any NES game I played was, like the NES was done by that time.
Sure, yeah.
So I had never even seen an NES box until years later, because we would just buy a bunch of them at garage sales and shit, and they were just loose.
So I might be eating my words here. Super Mario Brothers 1 Nintendo Entertainment System, 1985. 1985? It seems like it was later than that.
Mario 1 was 85.
New factory sealed. It's for sale for $620.
And that's always the hardest thing is like, are people actually buying these things? Because you see like, oh man, the Switch is sold out everywhere. It's selling on eBay for $900,000. Like, no, it's not. Someone
Yeah.
just has that number there. You know?
Yeah. But here's a cartridge, Super Mario Brothers 3, $10. Like, that's
why
still...
is it yellow?
I don't know, because it's old as
And
hell.
why is that red? Those don't seem real.
Yeah, or like a Super Mario Brothers Duck Hunt cartridge from back in the day. it's $20 now.
And
It's
it was
less,
literally 9 cents at GameStop.
yeah.
So,
And it was when you bought it was probably $50.
yeah,
I don't know
or
how
even
much-
more. I mean, that's
yeah.
the thing. Like Earthbound was so expensive. We were
It's like
just talking about-
120 or 110.
like when it first came out.
Yeah.
I think it was
80?
like 90. I think it was like 80 or 90. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's just like anything, collecting something. There is an audience for that thing.
Right.
And if you have all of that thing, it's going to be worth it to you and maybe not anyone else. But the moment you have all of it and you say this is worth something, people are going to look at it and be like, oh, yeah, it's worth something. They have all of it. So
Yeah.
it was worth collecting for them.
It's like Earthbound, we were talking this as being a huge collectible. Earthbound Uncut, complete box set, new sealed SNES, $80. I would have thought that would have been like $1,200. But then what's this one?
But see, these are reproductions. Something about this seems off.
$500?
Questionable. We're just sitting here. This is a show
Well,
where we look at a
that's it.
laptop
This
now.
is the one that I'm seeing.
Yeah.
That's $4,000. Like the
giant
$4,000
box.
one. That's the giant box. That is the actual Earthbound box. From
Super
back in the day.
Nintendo SNES Earthbound, new in box, brand new in original box, VGA Q85. I'm sure that means something to someone. $4,000.
Very good. All.
Oh, good job, Earthbound. Yeah, no, I don't know. It's interesting because like I held on to. I mean, I still have so many physical games, and at some point I had to.
Yeah.
I traded them in to get the next console because that's how things worked in the '90s. But I still hold on to a couple physical games. Like there's some things that I'm like, this meant something to me, so I'm never going to get rid of it. But I'm like, I can't go down this collecting rabbit hole because I will. I'll go crazy and I'll buy all of them. And I think that we're lucky that we are able to have things like Virtual Console and the PlayStation Network and backwards compatibility, like being able to download stuff on Xbox.
It's like my
where-
Super Mario World for the 40th time. Yeah.
Exactly. But having it all in one place, it's like the dream used to be, oh man, I wish I had arcade cabinets. But it's like you just want one thing where you can play all the
Everything
games.
ever, yeah.
Yeah.
Great. It'd be the greatest. The digital collecting is something that I get involved with where it's like, I don't like to physically collect stuff or like knickknacks. I know that's a big thing in the tech industry to have stuff on your desk. I can't stand that. I want a clean workspace. But digital stuff, I'll just have archives of everything. And if I get one thing, I've got to get the rest of it. That's why I like
dude, I'm
achievements
like
on the
that too.
Xbox platform.
Oh,
I get
yeah.
that one achievement. I'm like, well, I'm playing this game for the next 8 years until I get all of
Oh
them.
my god.
And do you think we're going that route with Amiibo right now?
Yeah, definitely. That's why I'm like, I can't buy an Amiibo. And whenever like people send us Amiibos, I'm like, nope. Need this
That
thing
shit
away from me because I'll just get addicted to it.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want that because once I have one, I need them all.
Because then you get on that hunt where you find out about the super rare one, which
Yeah.
I don't know what the really rare Amiibo is right now, but you want that fucking item, and it's on eBay for I don't know $60, which isn't crazy, but it's like more than I want to spend for a fucking plastic toy that
Yeah.
I'm probably not gonna give a shit about in 5 years.
But let me tell you why you would, because Mario Kart just recently came out on the Nintendo Switch. It was Amiibo enabled. And so Caden, who has a full collection of Amiibos, she brought him into the know, and everybody unlocked every possible character
Yeah.
on Mario Kart day one.
So she's the hot business. She could have had a whole little business going on there.
That's how it was.
Storing money from people. You
like
know?
the way you
Oh,
think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just be like,
Renting
hey, you want to
them
come
out.
by and rent out these Amiibo?
Leasing
Get
them
all
out and
yeah.
shit.
Let me see
Holy,
this.
that's a good deal.
So what's the most expensive Amiibo since
I
we're in
don't
this
know.
trend?
For a while, it was that gold. It was, I think,
Gold
the Golden
Mario, right?
Mario one,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I know also the 8-bit ones were also like very limited when they sold them.
$22.
Maybe it wasn't Golden Mario. There was
No,
some
it's-
Mario.
I think it was the 8-bit Mario.
It might have been
like-
Silver Mario, not the 8.
Or maybe there's an unpainted Mario. Was that one? Am I
don't
thinking about it right? Anyway,
No idea.
The one thing about retro too is, you make a lot of video game content. We make a lot of video game content, and we're constantly asked when we talk about your shows, "Will you guys make a retro show?" But retro shows to me are so hard because everyone's version of retro is different. Like my number one collectible that I would love to have, which I actually do have, is a cloth map from the game series Ultima. If you know what that is.
Oh,
It's,
yeah.
the original like RPG
point
series
and
on the
click.
Commodore. Yeah. It was a Commodore game, and it was you had a map of this world Britannia that they invented for the game. But most people who were watching this and who watch Rooster Teeth, they never played any Ultima games.
Yeah.
They don't care. They might have played Ultima Online, which is a totally different game, but they
Yeah.
they couldn't care less about it. And then somebody who's watching it, to them, some people who watch our shows now, retro to them is the original Halo.
Yeah.
Because they started playing at Halo 3 or something like that. And so it's like, to me, that I was a full grown adult playing Halo.
Yeah. Well, I mean, see, that's interesting because what I was saying about there's a couple games that I kept the physical versions of. Halo and Halo 2 are examples of that because I'll never forget where I was playing those games and the experiences I had. So that steel case Halo 2.
Oh yeah,
The
blue
limited
logo on
edition
the
one.
front, yeah.
Something about it, I'm just like, I'm never getting rid of this thing. Like, this means something to me. And I don't give a fuck if it's worth anything. Like, it's worth sentimental value.
I have a couple of those sealed at home.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they have like the don't open until whatever day.
Until release, yeah.
Yeah, until like November 5th, 2005.
My brother and I
or
cut
something.
school, I believe, and that's my brother. I got my brother really into video games. Like he had fallen off for quite a bit after playing NES and SNES for quite some time, and he jumped back in on Halo, and he was awful at the start of it. But then he eventually started getting good. And the most annoying thing for me was like when I would work all day at my job, like at my after school job, and I'd come home, my brother would be in my room like playing Halo with my friends. I'd be like, all right, get the fuck out of my room, dude. Like, what are you doing? And so I remember he drove me to the Best Buy to get Halo like launch day. It was just so fucking great, dude. What a great memory.
Yeah.
Halo 2 new in the box goes for $22. Goes for less than what you paid for it back then.
Yeah.
What about the collectors?
All right, let's find out. How the collector's
Collector
edition.
steel case.
But I do-
Limited edition is, I think, what they call it.
Oh,
I think the video game industry, unlike any other industry, and Nintendo's a great example of this, they have the ability to cash in on that retro kind of nostalgia that people want by just making newer versions of the game. And Nintendo, everybody was going nuts on the Switch for this new Zelda game. Everybody I know says it's one of the best games ever. And I think the thing that makes it that way is because it plays like a Zelda game that they remember as a kid. It's light years ahead of it, but it's the way you remember it, and you like kind of grow that memory and you add to it yourself. It's like, it doesn't play the way the old game plays, it just plays the way you remember it.
Yeah,
playing.
and well, that is the importance of nailing nostalgia. We actually talked about this. I talked with Ashley about this on Glitch Please over on Rooster Teeth First. You can check that out.
JoeRushi.com.
Yes, and we were talking about that and how it's like the Lara Croft Go games nail classic Tomb Raider the way that you remember those games playing.
Yep.
Because you go back to those games now and it's just like,
What is
this?
this?
Is so bad, so hard to control. And like,
pyramid boobs.
Yeah, exactly.
Collector's edition, $7.
$7. There you go. But man, that thing's sexy.
Yeah.
Invest in something else.
But the thing with Nintendo that I think that they have that was unique to them for a very long time in the video game industry that now PlayStation is finally kind of has. Like, PlayStation's been on for 20 years.
Yeah.
So they now have a stable of franchises and characters that people grew up on. And I feel like Xbox Xbox is more about the experience and less about the games themselves, I think. Where there's like, Halo and Master Chief and all that, and people have their memories, but people don't necessarily talk about their memories of Halo. They talk about the memories of the sleepovers they had and the LAN parties they had and things like that. Whereas with Nintendo, it's the characters.
Yeah.
And with PlayStation, it's
Nintendo
like the
crushed that
single-player
first party
experiences.
franchises.
Yeah,
They crush it.
And when it comes to nostalgia, like Pokemon, right, came out when I was in 3rd grade, and there's nothing I'm more nostalgic for than the original gens of Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
There are kids now. There are 7 generations of kids that grew up with a different generation of Pokemon that have that same feeling for those Pokemon.
Right.
Nintendo just does the same thing over and over, but it's always to a new audience.
Yeah. Like I'm always amazed. We worked with a guy who his first Star Wars movies he ever saw were the original trilogy, and he's like, "These are the greatest movies ever." And
You mean the prequel trilogy?
yeah, when I'd say the original. Yeah, I
Yeah.
meant the 1 through 3. I meant
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
newer,
yeah,
the
yeah.
prequel
Blanchard.
trilogy. Yeah, I'm talking about Blanchard.
Is that serious? Is he? Is
No,
that
he
in
genuinely
jest?
likes them. I think he genuinely likes those movies.
Generally likes or generally liked?
no,
'Cause those are different statements.
No, he has made a little bit of a turn.
Okay.
and where he realized, maybe these movies aren't great.
Because I grew up with them too. I'd seen the
Oh,
originals
yeah,
first,
yeah.
but
Yep.
like I remember going to the theaters and watching 1 and 2 and 3, and not. I was a dumb kid, so episode 1 to me, I was like, dude, the pod racing was cool.
Episode
Darth
one to
Maul
me
had a
was
fucking
incredible.
dual-sided lightsaber. Are you fucking kidding me?
They spoiled it in the trailer.
Yeah.
What was that about? Never
But-
understood that.
Hype.
Episode 1 was great to me, but
You need hype for the new Star Wars movie
I
after
guess
20
not.
years?
even episode 2 to me was like, I'm still young, but even I know that this is not a good movie at all. My brother and I were so bummed out in the
See,
theater.
watching 2 for me, I was young to the point that like Yoda pulled out his lightsaber. Yoda's gonna fucking fight. Oh my god! But then it's like
He's so quick.
years later, I grew up. I'm like, wow, what bad character development.
Yeah.
Why would they do all that?
I was in the movie going, what? The Buddha character has a lightsaber and is jumping around fighting
That's a
stuff?
tiny lightsaber.
That's
and he
not what
flips
he
around?
does. It was
He's so
very
slow, but he's
strange
so
to
fast.
me. Yeah. But everyone in the theater was going, oh my God. I'm like, this is totally not a character. This is so off brand for Yoda. But yeah, GoldenEye for the Nintendo 64. Great retro game.
Yeah.
You would never want to play that game today, but it's, $30. And
Yeah.
so many people would identify that as one of the greatest games to ever be put out for a console.
And playing it now is rough.
It's
rough,
hard.
man.
It's hard.
It had paintball mode though.
It did.
And the Golden Gun mode, which I
And
really
GoldenEye,
liked.
I think, it goes back to what I was saying about kind of what Xbox has going for it, where it was about the experience more than the game itself.
I think you're right.
With GoldenEye, it was
No one else
about-
could do FPS on a console until GoldenEye kind of did it right, and then I give Halo a lot of credit for getting it right, and then Call of Duty.
I mean, the way I see it is GoldenEye kind of made it fun for couch co-op to be able to just play, or not even co-op, just multiplayer, and play with people in a room and have it be fun. And that they perfectly nailed the one more match mentality. And then meanwhile on PC side, of course, there was so many great first-person shooters, but a lot of them were story-based. And then there was the Unreals and there's Counter-Strike, which they totally had their thing going, right? But N64 still just had hey, it's just fun to control, and it only had one analog, and there's no way this will be good. And it wasn't until that team went off and did Time Splitters, where they did the dual analog thing on PlayStation 2, and then Halo came in and were like, oh no, we're going to do this right.
Yeah.
And they just knocked it out of
Fucking
the park.
nailed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what's going to be interesting to me for retro going forward is the generation of people who are growing up playing video games now. A lot of those experiences, what you talked about with your couch co-op with your buddy next to you, now that's your online friends.
Yep.
And I think about a game like Five Nights at Freddy's. I cannot separate that from Markiplier. So when people 20 years from now remember this game, Five Nights at Freddy's, I don't know what Mark will be doing 20 years from now. Hopefully he'll be happily retired or something like that. But people will be, their retro experience will be thinking about that personality that they experienced it with. I didn't really have that growing up. I had my buddies that I played games with, my buddy Randy that I played Ultima with.
Yeah.
But I didn't have these personalities that then go off and do other things. And it's like they're tied into that experience. I'm curious to see how that'll be in a couple decades.
I mean, I've already lived through enough of that to see such a change where it's like I have my friends that I played Smash Brothers with, or Mario Kart or whatever, and then my buddy Alfredo, he got so into the online first-person shooter thing in the MLG way and in the clan battles and in all that stuff. And I'd be hanging out with him, and he's telling me about all these friends he has, and I'm like, who are these people? I go to school with you.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, man, these are people I just play with online.
Yeah.
And they would meet up and hang out, and then to
And
see
your
what
friendship was over.
Yeah, no, dude, junior year of high school almost destroyed me and Alfredo because Counter-Strike just took over his life. When it came to Xbox, he just
Yeah.
was gone.
Do we have any piano music we can
Yeah,
play here?
no, the sad.
Play the leftovers music.
Yeah. But
Good stuff.
no, it was crazy, man. But he did that, and then he introduced me to this whole group of friends that he had. I remember we went down and stayed with his online friends in LA.
Yeah.
And we just had a place to stay, and we had an awesome time.
Terrible idea, by the way.
I know, yeah. But now it's kind of a normal thing. Like when we do community events like Kind of Funny Live or any we just go to PAX or whatever, there's a bunch of the community with 12 people in a hotel room.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that sounds like a disaster.
Been there, yeah.
Yeah.
Been there.
But
5 people in a hotel room, 6 people.
Listen,
Smells gross.
he was coming up for Kind of Funny Live too. And we had just arrived from Austin, and we were all going to the hotel. I said, "Where are you staying?" And he goes, "I'm staying in a fan let me sleep on the floor in a room with 18 other people." And I said, "I'm getting you a hotel
shout
room."
out to Trevor Starkey.
I know that you were not on the official list of traveling people for
Alex
this,
Aziz.
but I'm getting you a hotel room so you don't have to stay on the floor.
Oh man,
And I appreciated that. I'll never forget.
Apparently you did. That's why you quit. So. Thanks for the hotel room. I'm out. Little did I know I was funding his recruitment at Kind of Funny at the time.
Oh man,
The seeds were planted
I'm
early,
sorry,
Burnie.
we stole them from you guys.
It happened.
That was the whole thing where it was just as we were talking about it, we came to a decision at an Outback Steakhouse, as good decisions are always made. When me and Kevin were like, we want Andy. Andy's the dude that we want for this role. And I was like, oh man.
See, and that's important because we never said that. Actually, turnabout is fair play. Greg is not getting married today. He's packing to move to Austin. And we're going to announce that Greg Miller's moving over to Rooster
That's
Teeth.
what I was saying.
yes.
I think the on the drive over here, he was on a flight to Austin to go record stuff with you all, and somebody was like, "Man, did you all trade spots?" I was like, "Man, Rooster Teeth got fucked," or no, Kind of Funny got fucked with this trade. They totally got
me.
ripped off.
Or me or you.
Me.
But one of our first things with that was we were like, all right, we got to talk to Rooster Teeth. We got to talk to everyone at Rooster Teeth that might be upset about this and see if they're cool with it. So we hit you up.
Yeah.
We hit Jeff. We hit up our friend Lewis. and a couple other people, and it went all the way up. We ended up talking to Matt. We ended up talking to Ezra, who was like full screen and all that shit. So I'm like, man, it went up there.
Well, we had to talk to the guy that Andy actually worked for, which is the head of the games
yeah,
division.
Michael.
Yeah, and he was. He might not be your best friend. He was very sad.
Yeah,
Let's
no,
go
I
with
mean
that.
he's an awesome man. We've talked many times since then, and I don't know what he says
I'm just
behind
saying
closed doors.
you were a valuable employee, and Michael misses you.
I know. I miss them too. I miss them too.
Yeah.
But I went to this. What's that?
That life's over, Andy.
Kevin
Yeah.
tells me everybody back home is dead. Forget about them. They're gone.
It's you gotta do it. You're dead to me. So I think I wrote that on Twitter. Good luck. Good luck. You're dead to me. But I did the same thing too. Even though it was pretty clear that Meg Turney was going to come and work at Rooster Teeth, I called Phil DeFranco and told him. I said, listen, it's really rare that someone of the caliber of Meg Turney moves to Austin, so we're probably going to offer her a job. And I wasn't asking for permission.
Yeah.
Because that's between us and Meg makes her own decisions in her career and makes very good ones. But I just wanted to give him a heads up. You know what I mean? And you have to be kind of careful about that too. Puts the employee in a great position, because then the current employer might go, hey, we want to keep you.
Exactly.
And that kind of thing. But especially if you know people, you want to be able to make sure that you do that kind of thing, because you can go back and forth on that, and it gets crazy in a
Absolutely.
heartbeat.
I mean, it sounds super corny to say, but every relationship requires communication.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I feel like even business relationships, it's like you need to make sure that you're communicating what your side of the story is, because otherwise they're going to come up with their own version of what your story is. And they're going to look at it more as, oh, they're fucking us, instead of, oh, no, this is just a total, a business decision that is being made because people believe this is the right thing to do, or whatever it is.
You're going to end up in the same rooms again at some point.
Exactly. And it's also like, there's no reason to bite the hand that feeds when it comes to opportunities and stuff like that. So it's just like, we definitely do not want to have a bad relationship with you guys. Like, that'd be so
Yeah.
stupid.
But no, but if you can screw over somebody you hate, then that's
Then-
good.
then you're
That's the
great.
win-win.
Well, how have you
see
kind
a
of,
party and you're like, hey.
Rooster Teeth is now 14 years old?
We just had our
15?
14th birthday. We're now heading into our 15th year.
That was my final day.
Yeah.
Well,
final
yeah,
day
you
was
were
the
April
party.
1st. You parted ways. Yeah, we just launched RVB season 15. So RVB for a while was a little bit more than one season a year, and so it got a little bit ahead. So we'll wrap RVB season 15, and then we'll have our 15th birthday about 6 months later.
Man.
Pretty
that
nuts.
is So RVB, you were totally involved for the first 10 seasons?
Yes. I mean, that was my show. I wrote and directed the show and everything. And it's like what we consider to be the founders of Rooster Teeth now were essentially the cast members of the show. And for a long time, it was our only show. It was, we had some other stuff we tried to do. I did some miniseries and things like that. But for probably 7 years, it was really the only thing that we did, which is crazy to think about now. That, even a show as big as Ruby, I would never bank everything on Ruby for the next 7 years. I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
So,
So you did that for the 7 years, and as you're doing that, like you still had Rooster Teeth as a
as a brand.
right?
Right. It was Rooster Teeth presents Red versus Blue.
So I'm sure in the first, say, 3 to 5 years of doing it, like you knew it was a success, but like where did you see Rooster Teeth going at that point?
At that point, well, I was a startup CEO because I was also CEO of the company. It started in a spare bedroom in my house. And as a startup CEO, it's a different mentality where, I was watching everything, watching the bottom line very closely. Also had this kind of idea that this is entertainment and it's online, which is a cross section of two very volatile careers. So I had a feeling like this could go away at any moment, And
Do you still feel that way?
no, I don't feel that way now. That vlog I did that we were talking about in a previous segment. We were talking about just the different business models of Rooster Teeth. So when something like the ad apocalypse happens on YouTube, we know about it and we're aware of it, and I definitely feel bad for people who are very affected by it. But for us, it's like pre-roll ads could evaporate entirely, and it doesn't take our business away. We have so many other aspects to our business. But yeah, I was just looking at growing things and keeping going. I probably, 5-6 years in, that's when YouTube was starting to get big. So I was looking at that and going, that'll never be a thing, you know? But, YouTube got to the point where online video meant YouTube after a while. And so then we had to come up with a YouTube strategy. That strategy was Achievement Hunter, essentially. The first video we ever put on YouTube was the trailer for season 6 of Red versus Blue, if that tells you anything. That's our first video on YouTube. So we were already 6 years in as a company at that point in time. So
Yeah. Wow. That is insane.
Lord.
So going from there, then you have your red versus blue, and you're scared to go on YouTube, and not scared, but you feel like it's not going to go anywhere.
I don't know why would I put my videos on somebody else's site.
So
Which
now
sounds
that-
weird now, but back then it was like this is some other website.
Now that you know that YouTube is what it is, and that it's necessary as its own thing that's not going to eat away from your thing,
Yeah.
roosterteeth.com. Are you more open to when you hear about things being successful? Are you more open to be like, I should probably?
The big thing for that is social media. Anytime a new social media network, you kind of hear about it. It's like, oh, everybody's on, Bing Bong. It's like, what's Bing Bong? And then like you hear it a couple more times, and you're like,
Bing Bong's hot right now.
do I got to check this Bing Bong thing
You
out?
got to.
And the next thing you
do
know,
I
it's
have
Snapchat.
to? Next thing you know, you're bonging twice a day,
Yeah.
and it's just,
Wiz Khalifa's
your whole
there.
life. You're like, you're checking everything. Then you're a vlogger at 44 years old. But it is like, I could give it my experience with Snapchat. Finally, Snapchat wasn't just, a place where you send pictures of your genitals to people. It was a thing that everybody was using. I log on to it. I go to register my name. Bernie's taken. All right, Bernie Burns. Bernie Burns is taken. I'm like, done. I'm out. I literally say I just started an Instagram account because I got the name Burnie on Instagram.
Good.
Literally April 2017, I
Oh my
started
God.
an Instagram account.
Follow him on Instagram at Burnie.
Yeah. So follow me on
You're
Instagram.
not an underscore guy. I appreciate that. Unlike some of the weaker of our kind.
What?
Nick _ Scarpino.
Does he do that? Yeah.
He's fucked.
I'm a big believer in, probably because I come from the .com era where you had domain names. Like I have Burnie.com and I have Burnie on Twitter and I have Burnie on Instagram. I'm not going to have like my Snapchat account.
Burnie official.
It's so sad. It's real Burnie. That's my Snapchat name. So,
Yeah.
and I know on Snapchat is less important for that.
Yeah.
But I still just like, can't be bothered.
I do want it to become an inside joke to where I'm just constantly messaging you like, hey, what's up? And then like you never respond. And just constant tweets of like, hey, did you check my Snapchat message? Like, I want that to become a thing. And I'm going to make it a thing, Bernie, just to let you know.
Well, Snapchat's kind of weird because it's supposed to be ultra private in that even the messages disappear, which I'm assuming is for a privacy thing for people sending kind of racy snaps.
I think it's just more because it keeps it fun.
Is that what it is?
It gives a timer to it where you're just like, you have to look at this
You
thing.
can save the stuff if you want. Like a few friends of mine chat on there and my friend will save all of our chats so he remembers what the fuck we were talking about. Because there's so many times where like I'll respond to a snap like 7 hours later and somebody will respond to me like, what were we even talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, or there's a reply and like, what are you replying to? Yeah.
Why is your dick here? Yeah.
But yeah, it's so on Snapchat, it's just one of those things where I go and watch people's stories and instantly regret doing that.
Yeah.
But it's probably just because I'm old, and I recognize people are having fun with the little face filters and all that stuff. I'm just like, it took some time to do that. That's some impressive technology that could be put to much better use than that.
Well, the scary thing is, that it is, and we just don't know what those uses are yet. But Snapchat knows. Snapchat's doing them somewhere.
Yeah. It's all just, they're collecting all your data and everything. Like, it was no surprise to me when there was a subpoena that went to Snapchat about a user's, some court case where they needed the user's chat history. And Snapchat goes, yeah, we have that.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be deleted, but
No, of course they
nobody,
have it.
why delete something if you cannot delete
Yeah.
it?
No,
That's what
exactly.
all these big companies think.
Yeah. Shout out to nude pictures. That's literally how I live my life. Why
Yeah.
delete them when you could not delete them?
Like Facebook said, oops, we forgot to make everything public. The default was private. So they went through a major upheaval on their platform to make sure everything was default public.
Yeah.
Because they saw the value in having all that content be searchable. And the Amazon Echo, this awesome little voice activated device in your house, now suddenly has a camera because guess what? We forgot to put a camera in people's houses, but we did put a microphone in. So now they have that. Yeah.
It's horrifying to think about
it's a little
where that all could
Big
go.
Brother-ish, yeah.
Yeah.
What topic is this?
This topic is kind of just turning into
Miscellaneous.
When we were talking about
Potpourri.
We're talking about RT.
Yeah, but we're talking about RT. The jump off point, I'm forgetting now, but it was something about people leaving and dealing with it, and then we're talking about Meg leaving.
We were talking about like
Wouldn't
when
that-
you notify people and you called us and said,
We're talking about Andy. Yeah,
we're
that's
gonna-
what it was.
Let's bring it back to me.
Yeah.
Let's keep talking about it.
We're
That's
poaching Andy.
So I'm interested very selfishly because Kind of Funny is growing rapidly. Like we kind of took the 2-year plan for
Yeah.
what Rooster Teeth did, where like you guys 7 years or whatever of Red versus Blue before you started doing all the other stuff. Like we are just kind of like hit the ground running. Let's copy the model that they're doing. They did live events. How can we put a spin on a live event?
Yeah.
They nail podcasts. How can we do that? Like Let's Plays, if not invented by Rooster Teeth and Achievement Hunter, more so like defined, I would say, by Achievement Hunter and what they do. We kind of just look at all that and we're like, all right, what's our spin on all those things?
Yeah.
So I'm always interested in like the decisions you made and like what you might have regretted, and also just what you necessarily like, what made you change things and how you dealt with it. Big specific thing is Red versus Blue.
Yeah.
First 5 seasons, very much dick jokes.
Yeah, very comedic, very lighthearted, like low plot.
Like a plot that gets the characters to the next joke they need to get to, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Season 6 comes, and it is a total tonal shift in terms of there is a narrative being told.
Right.
Still jokes, still very funny, but it was building towards something. And I think that from season 6 through 10, there was a lot of weird back and forth, and I know that that had a lot of audience feedback to it. How did you kind of take that audience feedback and let it either make the decisions that you were making or ignore it and just kind of do what you felt was right?
Well, you know, there's two things in there. First of all, when you read comments on the internet, and I think you should read comments on the internet, you tend to internalize the negative ones with a higher weight than the positive ones. First of all, most of the views are positive. Most people don't leave a comment. Most people don't leave feedback. Those are the people who like the video and they come back, and that's expressed in the number of views.
Just
that
like the people that don't leave surveys. They had a good time, but I'm not going to fill out a survey.
No, what am I doing that
You had
for?
a shitty time.
You're going to fill
Guess
out that
what?
damn survey.
Yeah.
Guess what? Yelp people. I guarantee people register a Yelp account for the first time to do a negative review.
Sure, yeah.
I would like to see the number of negative reviews, like for the first review, what the incidence of that is on Yelp.
Actually, mine was totally positive my first time.
What'd you review?
Smashburger near RT.
Really?
The guy who worked there, his name was also Andy. He was like, Andy, what's going on? Hey, man, I have the same name. I was like, cool, man. That's fun. And then he was like, hey, if you give us a positive review, get you a free entree next time on Yelp.
Oh,
And I
that's
was like,
cool.
all right, fuck yeah. Created a Yelp account. I was like, Andrew was great. He killed it.
So it's
Got a
either
free burger.
like negative reviews or sellout hacks.
Yeah, exactly. Those are the only two sides.
That's exactly
Which
what it
feels
is.
like very apt for the conversation we're having, where you either are the best person ever giving the fans what they want, or you're a fucking sellout. Right?
Sure. No, there is some of that. It's always that's the negative people amidst the, you know, there's all these comments of like, cool, or they're quoting something from the episode or saying a funny quote from a podcast, and they're showing their appreciation that way. Then all of a sudden the negative comment shows up and it seems more analytical, which makes it seem more thoughtful. And that's a trap you can fall into. Not the case at all. I mean, it's just someone who didn't like it and they're you know, trying to stand out in the crowd. But it's kind of like if you went to the mall and you know, or went out for the amusement park for the day and you ran into 50 people and they all said hello, and one guy walked up to you and said, I hate your fucking shirt. When you went home, they say, how was the amusement park? You go, there was this guy, you know, it kind of defines your experience amidst all these, you know, wonderful things. So I think you do have to pay attention to feedback. You know, in the case of Red versus Blue, we'd gone 5 seasons. I had the opinion that we didn't have to make content like TV, so I gave that storyline an ending point so that people could stop watching the series after 5 years, which felt phenomenally long to me at that point. And it also gave new people a point to jump on. And so that's why we changed it and had more of a storyline. And season 6 to this day is still my favorite thing that I've ever written. You know, and then season 7 was super important to me because that's when Gavin Free came on and directed it. I kept telling other people at the company, I want somebody else to take over the show or work on the show and direct it. And people go, you don't want that. And I'm like, okay. So I hired this 17-year-old kid from Britain to come over and do it instead. You know, and then started the relationship with Gavin, which then, you know, led to such amazing things like what him and Michael did for Let's Play and Achievement Hunter is just like, is incredible. You know, I mean, it was, you know, Jack and Jeff started something really amazing, but there was this moment when, you know, Michael and Gavin showed up, and shortly after that, Ray, and then Ryan was working at the company, was working different stuff, but it was like that moment when the Team Lads formed, it's just like locked that thing in as a phenomenon, you know? And so it's like, you know, you just build on things, you know, you just, you make little steps, and sometimes you don't really see what you're doing at the time, but if you stay true to your core values, and for us, that's make content that we would want to watch, then you're building those, every step's the right one, so it must send you in the right direction.
Yeah.
Steve Jobs has a great quote about it. He said, you can't always connect the dots going forward, but it's very easy to connect the dots looking backward. See how everything led to where you are, but you just have to have the faith that the dots will connect at some point in the future when you're there making it.
I thought you were going to say, don't go on an all-fruit diet. I thought that was going to be his quote.
Also that. Also don't. That won't cure every disease.
Before we
And
were,
a total paraphrase, by the way. I butchered that quote.
I'm sure
but yeah.
the point was there. Before we were filming this, we were talking about Red vs. Blue, like in the early days, and because we were talking about the kind of funny animated series and how we totally were over our abilities when we committed to what we were trying to do within the timeline that we were going, where we're like, we're going to get an episode out a month, and it proved to be way harder than that because there's so many moving parts and so many other people involved, and we'd been so used to it's just us, so if we fuck up, that's our fault. Whereas now it was like, oh shit, someone else isn't getting what they need to get done. It's still all our fault, but we can't fix it. You know? And it was interesting. You were saying that Red versus Blue, you guys were writing that and like you were doing an episode week to week. How long did that last?
Through season week to week, season 8. The first season of Red versus Blue that I ever wrote in advance, had the full script, was season 10. Every other script I had an outline for what the season was going to be. I still do this with Miles, who's the head writer, and now Joe Nicolosi. We say we're starting here in episode 1 of the season. We want to get to about 20 episodes. This is where we want to be. And then we just kind of like put little milestones in it every 3 or 4 episodes. And then every episode gets us a little closer to that next milestone, the next step. And that's the way we did it. But I would write the script for a Red versus Blue episode that was coming out on Friday. I would write it on Monday every week. And it wouldn't be written before that.
That is utterly insane. But back then, that was all that you were doing.
I'm sure
quote,
Matt
unquote.
and Gus and Jeff will tell you that Monday is me being flowery in my memory. It was probably like Wednesday sometimes when the script would show up, and then we'd rush to get everything done. And then we'd have off season.
Yeah.
The show would run for 20 weeks a year, 4 PSAs, so it was about half the year. And then the rest of the time we could work on, things like Panics or Strangerhood, which we tried, branching out into machinima, and then realized eventually, let's not keep pressing the same button again and again. Let's do something new. So we started doing live action shorts and things like that, and Achievement Hunter and other things as well. But we wanted to make Achievement Hunter for years. Like we talked about it over and over again. Like the first podcast we have, we're talking about wanting to start Achievement Hunter.
Wow.
Yeah, we had like contests. Jeff and I were doing contests to test our audience's like appetite for gaming content in general and not just narrative stuff like we were doing with Red versus Blue.
Yeah, man. See, that blows my mind because the Red versus Blue to me was so important, and especially in the early seasons. But then when season 6 came, like I'll never forget seeing the trailer for that and being like, this is not what I want.
Yeah.
Like
a lot of people have that reaction.
Where are the characters I know and love? Like what's going on? But I was like, you know what? I'll give it a shot. Like I'll see how I feel about this. And then I remember watching episode 1, and then there's the twist at the end where it's like, all right, no, we are going back. We are getting the characters.
Right.
And that was such a moment where you earned my trust as a fan, where I'm like, oh shit, you are listening. You do care. And I was like, holy shit, this is great. And yeah, season 6, like for me, my favorite season, I think overall is 6. Somewhere between the CG elements of 9 and 10. I also think there's like the whole freelancer saga.
Yeah.
There's just such a great story there. And Kevin would come over every single week and we would watch it as soon as the episodes went live. And we would talk about it. And I was always so blown away at how intricate all the especially with the AIs and all the freelancer characters. I would have sworn that you had that shit scripted out and like planned, like the 5 seasons planned.
Big stuff like that, like the storyline. Yeah. And in fact, season 6 existed because Nathan Zellner, a guy who doesn't get enough really credit in the history of Rooster Teeth, after season 5, there was all this wrapping up of the text storyline. I don't want to bore people who don't watch Red versus Blue, but I was explaining to Nathan the backstory that I had for all that stuff about the freelancers and everything, and he said, and I had built out the whole backstory just to make this to be able to write it and make it seem true. And Nathan said, "That seems really interesting. Why don't you just make a story that's about that stuff?" And I was like, well, I feel like I already have with text. And he's like, nobody, hasn't been on screen. Nobody knows that stuff. They're like, oh, okay. So then did that, wrote that story. But I, didn't start off in season 1 knowing where we're going to be in season 10. But after, a while of making it, you should just start to think about like, where could this go and what could this be,
So what kind of hand do you have in it now? Do you just kind of approve things and look
Red
at
versus
things?
Blue?
Yeah.
Major story stuff like a script approval. But no, when I handed off to Miles, I really was 10 years, dude. It's a long time to work on a show. And we had some, like Matt did such heavy lifting in season 10 as well for the directing of it as well. In season 9 too. And then we had Monty, who did so much work on it. So those things were...
You got more water, by the way?
Yeah, that'd be great. Should I walk away and get it?
No, okay.
I feel like a jackass asking somebody else to get my water. But but in season 10, I want to work on other stuff, And so we found Miles, somebody who got the voice of the characters. And I hope Miles would agree with this. I mean, he's had as close as you can get to full autonomy of running a show that's been going for 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, even if I had a voice in it, the people who watch it are always going to have whether or not they realize it, they contribute to that show just through their comments.
Yeah.
You can't just do whatever you want to.
Yeah.
You have to have a purpose for what you're doing.
Well, what's cool about that is this kind of goes back to the nostalgia topic we were doing, where it's like the difference between just having something be nostalgic and really going back and nailing that feeling that you had. I feel like Miles and what he did with seasons 11 through 13 was somehow even more genuine than what if you had continued it, because what he knows of Red vs. Blue as a fan and as somebody that like connected with the characters, he knew what those characters should do.
J.J. Abrams and George Lucas thing. Almost.
Exactly. Yeah.
I say that a lot for the second and third generation of creators at Rooster Teeth is a lot of people when they talk about the story of Rooster Teeth, they talk about the founders a lot because we started this thing and grew it and everything else. But people like Gavin and Miles, Michael, now Blaine and other people,
Barbara,
they actually have a way more complete story of Rooster Teeth than we do, because we don't have the fan experience. We don't have the community experience. They have that, and then they also have the creator experience.
Yeah.
So in a lot of ways, that second and third generation is more a true story of Rooster Teeth than the people that started it.
Yeah. I mean, that's fantastic. And I definitely feel that. Like, I know those people really well now. And like seeing Blaine, when I first met you years ago, Blaine was an intern. And I remember meeting him, and he was super gung-ho and just like, I'm just trying to do something. He still had the arms. But, he was just like super stoked to be there. Right? Yeah. And he would just do all that shit. And then now seeing him, and he's like directing things, like directing $1 Million. But I'm like, holy shit, man. Like, you're doing real stuff. Like, seeing how we always talk about how much Rooster Teeth's grown. Every single time I visit down there, you have another airplane hangar, And it's just like, there's just so many people working there. And it's just like, it's insane that there's that much talent doing that many different things. And it's not just Red versus Blue.
I give a lot of credit to the older guys because they're not very precious. Like Gus started RTX and then got it to a point. He's like, he handed over to Bethany and her group, Jeff's handed over the reins on Achievement Hunter a couple different times.
Yeah.
I handed over the reins on Achievement Hunter, some of our other big series that I was working on for years. Like Day 5, that was something I had been developing and building that story out. But Josh Flanagan is the guy that should be the showrunner for that, And he proved that in the first season. And you have to be able to do that. If we just waited around for all of us to have the availability to write and direct something, they just wouldn't get made.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we want to see this stuff get made because we like it.
Yeah. Hell yeah. I hope we get to that point one day.
I have one quick question. At the start of your RT shorts, like when you started getting that whole series going, was it something that you just did on a whim? Or was it something that like, all right, we have a planned out of 10 episodes that we're going to come out with? Or was it just like, hey, I have a cool idea. Let's film this someday.
All right. So I'm going to reveal something that I have as a management strategy, which I employ on a fairly regular basis over the course of the last decade and a half. And that is, you get artists around, they talk about stuff they're going to do. And a lot of times it's like, well, let's do it. Let's do it. And what I'll do is we talk about it, and then I'll just come in one day and I'll say, oh, hey, I made a live action short. And it was the first ever RT short was me and Gus in the hallway of the Congress office imitating that ninja cat where the guy leans out and the cat keeps getting closer every time he leans back out. But I did it with Gus, and Gus getting further and further down the hallway. And after that, nobody wants to get left behind. So then everybody jumps on board. They're like, okay, no, let's do this. And suddenly we're making RT shorts. Same thing happened with Achievement Hunter. We talked about, the joke we make is we called it Achievement, but it sounded like some weird gay porn site. But we kept talking about it. And so in my journal on the Rooster Teeth website, I just started putting up Call of Duty videos at the time, like recording me playing Mile High Club. And people went nuts. And then all of a sudden it was this feeling of, oh, now we're doing this. And then Jack and Jeff got ravenous about it and then started off the races. And then I just kind of went, okay, like this and step back. So sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you just kind of, it's easy to think like, well, when we get to this, it'll be amazing. Sometimes it's like, well, your first ones aren't going to be amazing, but you need to make those first ones in order to get to your, in the case of Achievement Hunter, your 300,000th one or however many videos they've made at this point. I think they're over like 6,000 videos that's been produced by Achievement Hunter.
God.
Yeah. I mean, some of their series have 300 episodes.
Yeah.
400 episodes.
That is insane.
It's pretty nuts.
Yeah. See, it's interesting hearing you say that because, like, I'm one of those guys. I'm totally one day I'm going to do this. Like, we're going to do shorts. I've been talking about doing shorts for my entire life at this point. But it's so easy to fall back on things. Like, for us, we're podcasters. At the end of the day, we do podcasts. So it's like what you were saying earlier about I just press the button and do it again. It's so hard to stop that when we're good at that and that's what the audience knows us for.
They'll also give you the feedback when you do something like an animated show of like just podcast.
Just podcast.
Yeah.
And like, so, I mean, I'm sure you still get that when you do different things, but at this point you guys do so much that it's like, I don't know.
It's become part of the brand that like Rooster Teeth can do whatever they want now. I think you've sort of won that faith from the
Every
fans.
vlog I put up to this day, there'll be, I mean, there's a lot of comments, but there'll be at least 3 or 4 comments saying, stop doing this, make Ruby. And it's like, but you think my vlog is replacing Ruby?
Yeah.
You know, but it's just people want that thing they like, you know?
You have to fucking animate in Maya, but you're too busy making that fucking vlog, dude.
I know, dude.
You're in charge of all those animations.
Otherwise, I'd be compositing right now.
yeah. Motion capturing.
That's
Yeah.
it. I'm the motion capture guy.
Yeah.
Well, how crazy, last question for you. How crazy is it that Ruby exists and is bigger than Red versus Blue ever was, and Red versus Blue was such a big thing?
I take a lot of personal pride in Ruby as a show because I had a ton of faith in Monty. He wanted to make the show, and it's real easy now when Ruby is a global phenomenon that has been produced in the US and is now distributed in Japan and other places. It's real easy to say, oh, that was a good bet. You know, the first season was brutal. People were like, what the hell is this show? It was when the existing audience with Red versus Blue and Achievement Hunter, they saw Ruby. They're like, well, it's all girls and it's anime. It's like, what is this? But we had a person who believed in it with a really strong creative vision who then amazingly built this incredible team. You know, Kerry Shawcross was 18 when he came to work for us. I think I met him when he was like 16 at PAX, and I was his mentor in high school. He had some kind of mentoring program, and I was just like, oh my God, okay, I'll do this for this kid. Meeting Kerry Shawcross was like, I don't know how.
Belated, right?
Yeah, happy belated birthday. I don't know how he ever kept his spirits up because I was like, all right, I'll do this mentor thing. He asked me 3 times. I turned him down twice. The third time, I was like, here's what I'll do. I'll do 1 phone call a month. I'm not coming down to San Antonio because that's where he lived. I'm not going to write anything. I go, if you have to write a report, if I have to do that, you write the report and I'll sign it. And he's like, okay. He's a 16-year-old kid. And so I did that. And then he was an intern for us. And now he directs our biggest show.
That's insane.
Ever. Yeah, ever. Yeah.
And he kills it, man. Every
yeah.
time I see him, he's like stressed out of his mind.
Yeah.
But then he's also having a great time, which
Yeah.
is kind of, that's what it means to make it, as far as I'm concerned. Like, if you're not stressed out about doing the thing that you love doing, you're not doing it well enough.
Yeah.
You know? Or doing it hard enough, at least.
Yeah, I really do wish that people had a better work-life balance, but at the same time, I know there were points in my life where I didn't. Work was the most important thing to me. When you're making something and people are watching it, it's intoxicating. You know, it's like, wow, I'm reaching out and I'm connecting with these people, and they like it. I'm getting feedback, and I'm feeling rewarded for being able to make this thing. It's really cool. But you do have to take some time every now and then to, like, breathe.
Well, Burnie, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Andy, thank
So
you
many
for joining
topics.
us as well.
Hey, I was here too.
Yeah, this is great.
I can't wait to see how you guys are going to split up the 3rd and 4th topic.
Oh
in
no,
this thing.
trust us. We do this all the time.
Oh, yeah?
Me and Kev have this like unwritten thing where it's just like it reaches a point where it's like, all right, cool, this is going to be the breaking point. So we got it.
Hour 8.
It's going to be good. Let us know in the comments what you think about this, and tell Burnie that he should come to Kind of Funny Live 3 and say hi and do a vlog and do all that cool stuff. You should also get your tickets, kindoffunny.com/KFL3. I'm just trying to find any way to bring up people should buy tickets for this thing.
Absolutely.
Because they should. It's gonna be a
Where
damn
can they
fun
buy
time.
tickets if they
They
want
can
to?
buy tickets at kindoffunny.com/KFL3. Burnie,
Really?
where can people find you?
Roosterteeth.com. That's the place to go to see us.
And what do you recommend people check out?
If you've never seen Rooster Teeth before, the best place to start is the Rooster Teeth Animated Adventures. Then, if you like that, have another show that I made a couple years ago that I really love called $1 Million Butt. You've been on the show. It's almost like a live action version of the Rooster Teeth Animated Adventures. It's really silly conversations that we go and film, and it's a ton of fun to make.
Hell yeah. Till next time.
It's been our pleasure,
Pleasure
to
to
serve
serve you. Yeah. Thank you, Andy. I forgot about
you. Yeah, it's
there's
all
an
good.
end catchphrase
I got you,
as
dog.
well.
Don't worry. I'm here, dude. I'm here.
I'm proud to be one of the 4, sometimes 5, sometimes 3 friends.
At this table.
At the table.
There you go.
Thanks for watching this episode of the Game Over Greggy Show. Click here to subscribe. Click here to support us on Patreon. Click here to see other episodes. Click here to go into a portal to take you to Kind of Funny Games. I'm Greg. I kind of made all this happen. But I mean, not in like a conceited way. I'm just saying if I didn't want to do the Oreo show ever, then it would have never happened. I hope Kevin isn't mad at me. You mad at me, Kevin?